It's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. What a beautiful dream, oh, when he plays pretend. It's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. What a beautiful dream. And he plays pretend. It's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. What a beautiful dream. What does the fascist say when the lies are sold in spades? They say they need our civil rights while we work hard and die. Under God, they defend the genocide. They have said they cleanse your soul by making sure your tale is never told. No matter how hard they try, through guns or laws or religious rhymes, they can take your arms, they can take your eyes, but when we sing your name, you can never die. You are true, they can't deny. To live is sweet revenge, you strike great fear into the hearts of men. A voice of nature can't be tamed, and that's why you're a me. To exist as far as I can, 'cause all they want is for you to end. Through the fire of their hate, you won't subside. You will rise. They thought they could make you hide, disappear right before their eyes, and no fan sesame. Here come the 40 thieves, riding into battle, wrath and power. This is stopping me. No matter how hard they try, through guns or laws or religious rise, they can take your arms, they can take your eyes, but when we sing your name, you can never die. You are true, they can't deny. To live is sweet revenge, you strike great fear to the hearts of men. A voice of nature can't be tamed, and that's why you love me. To exist as far as I can, 'cause all they want is for you to end. Through the fire of their hate, you won't subside. You are true, they wish they can't Click.
Hello, everybody. How we all doing? Hey, Metal Kitty Mom. Hello, Vivian. Hello, Zarina Chess. Hello, Superjet Guy. Hello, Mathatyahu. Hello, PC Schwarz. Hello, KBS. Hello, Uncle Tony, my favorite chat uncle. Hello, BBBBBBB. Hello, unironically Belgian. We only accept ironic Belgians here. Hello, Feistiest Bard. You've been watching the past 40 streams? My God! It's okay. I was joking. I was joking about the ironic Belgians. We also accept normal Belgians. A chunkle, if you will. True. Hello, Salmon Moose. Hello, Brandon H. Hello, Darth Gently. Hello, Penny Ann T. Hello, Lily Love Stuff. Hello, Urtimer. Can you see how many I've seen? I cannot, unfortunately. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I haven't had caffeine yet today. Ugh. My goodness. This stuff is the best. Whew. Hello, the guy. From war you return? What, the Great War? Not the whole stream. No, that would be an insane undertaking. Watching 40 of my entire streams, that'd be crazy. So as the title of the stream suggests, I think that Cenk Uygur made a bit of an oopsie daisy over on TYT. And for those of you who don't know, TYT is one of the largest left-leaning news outlets in the world, actually. And it's kind of a big deal when the person who runs it goes on the show and runs his mouth in what seemed to me like pretty transphobic ways. As a trans person, and I wanted to do a bit of a stream to make sure that, hey, maybe the clips that I've been seeing making the rounds on Twitter are taken out of context. Because, you know, people do that. People have been known to take others out of context. And I figured we'll take a look at that. And specifically, what clip might I be talking about? Specifically this one that I saw shared by Matt Lieb, who I believe is the partner for for some reason I can only remember her Twitter handle, Franifio, host of the Bituation Room, who guested on TYT not that long ago. Here is the clip in question.
So, first of all, when you have an extreme position, you have an extreme position that says, no, we don't ever ask anyone. And I think the Olympics position is actually absurd. They don't do any genetic testing. They don't do any testing. So you could, since they don't do any testing at all, you can just walk in, call yourself a female, not be trans. Trans people are actually
do it, Cenk. Do it.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, you could say it, but then what's going to happen?
Rugby,
Somebody's going to do it, and they're going to get away with it, and then everybody's going to be furious. Okay, it's all right. I can't stand it, and it doesn't help trans people at all to have these extreme positions. Oh yeah. Don't test anyone. Just take their word for it. I think it's terrible politics.
It's not an extreme position. It comes from a position of human rights, and it does help all
people. It's not a human right to compete in the other genders'
What you see there is when what you just saw are women, are biological women, being attacked for being trans because of the anti-trans athletic narrative that has already festered and has now come for these women. And so what are the women to do? Say, I'm not a man. In fact, screw, like, I'm not a trans man. Are you kidding me? No. We all stand in solidarity together. That's how we actually fight the right when it comes to their bull crap culture wars that lead nowhere, and it doesn't serve. Look, I understand, Cenk.
Yo, damn. Unironically Belgian. We now only accept unironic Belgians in this chat. Thank you for the tier 4 sub. My goodness. Yeah, I unironically, watching this clip makes me respect her, like, even more. Like, it's not like I didn't respect her before this clip, but like she's speaking truth to power here. Like, Cenk is a much more powerful individual than she is, and like, I think it's great that she is speaking up in the face of his aggression here in this clip.
You're in the majority. You're in the majority. I'm in the minority. most people disagree that trans athletes should participate in Olympic sports. Most people don't agree with me. But hell, man, I'm willing to stand on a hill that is unpopular and fight for people and for their human rights.
Yeah, look, we could spend an hour debating this, and I have in the past. But when...
Not really, though.
Yeah.
Not really. Not really debate, more of an agreement.
Like, unironically, by the way, while she is spitting here, I think she's also attempting to throw Cenk a lifeline here to not seem as openly transphobic as he is on this issue.
Okay, whatever. I'm happy to debate anybody about it. I don't agree.
Okay.
And you're never going to get me to agree by saying it's the left-wing position. It's the pro-trans position. I don't think it's a pro-trans position at all.
You should just offer a platform.
I think John Itarola is more on Fran's side here. I think he shuts his mouth an awful lot behind the scenes because he's friends with these people. Like he's worked with them for many, many years. I do think that John is on Fran's side here. And I think he's giving her a chance to speak. I wouldn't characterize him as a fucking coward. That is, I think that's unfair to John. Yeah, I think Asuka pointed out the best comparison for John. He's the dog in the house that's on fire.
Okay.
You don't have to agree.
All right. So when your opponent is in the middle of doing something radical, step out of the way and let them do it instead of stepping in the way and saying, "Hey, I'm more radical." Okay, I think it's terrible politics. It's terrible.
Again, I could be confused because this is a messy ass segment. My goodness, Uncle Tony with the tier 4 sub, guys. Thank you so much. We're gonna have a yellow name chat soon. Horizon, thank you for the $5 dono.
Got back from building Gunpla with a trans femme. How you doing, Jack?
I think that's just hanging out with a trans femme. You didn't have to specify building Gunpla. That's like 80% of what we do. Thank you, Uncle Tony, or as we will now call you, Chunkle. Is Cenk really going along with the bullshit? Kind of seems like it. What is happening in the UK? I'll talk about that after this, okay? Just remind me, because I might forget. But yeah, this part at the end just baffled me this morning. Because, I woke up, this was like the first thing I saw on Twitter.
Instead of stepping in the way and saying, "Hey, I'm more than at all."
Offer a platform.
Okay.
You don't have to agree.
All right. So when your opponent is in the middle of doing something radical, step out of the way and let them do it instead of stepping in the way and saying, "Hey, I'm more radical." Okay, I think it's terrible politics.
Who is he saying is more radical? Like, is he framing Fran as like the radical one who needs to like go ahead and do her idea? Like, I'm confused here by like the way he's framing this end of it. Yeah, it didn't make sense, right? It's not just me. He's saying that not testing women is radical, but like they do test women. Like they test all athletes for like doping. What? I don't this is such a weird argument considering like the Olympics has tested athletes for like 50 years, like longer than Cenk has been alive. What is doping? Doping is when people take performance-enhancing drugs to get an edge in sports. Oh, he's saying not doing genetic tests is radical. How? Why? Okay, but like this is why I'm thinking we need to watch the full segment here. Okay, we need to watch the full segment Because I got a lot of questions about this clip, and maybe is it actually as bad as it seems? I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's probably as bad as it seems. However, we'll have to check that out. 1 second, I'm getting a phone call. So we'll be doing that segment as soon as I get back from moving my car. I will BRB, folks. Sorry. Real life stuff and plans. BRB. Hello, everybody. Chai T-Rex, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I don't know why it didn't make an alert, but hello. Thank you for supporting stream, chat. Yes, not your business. We'll get to the British race riots that are going on. Did I finish Shadow of the Erd Tree last night? I did not. I'm getting closer though. I've gotten to a point where I can consistently like get through like half the fight, which is a lot better than the none of the fight I was getting through at the beginning. Making some bread rolls for edibles? Yummy. You guys have to share your recipes for all of these delicious treats you make in the stoner circle, please. I would like that. You'll get there. I believe in you. Thank you, OS Crane. All right. Weird little cut that is going to go in the segment right here. And, wow, suddenly I'm all flushed and sweaty because I've been running up and down stairs and going out in 100-degree heat. So, oh boy. Smoking ribs and pork chops right now? Ooh, tasty, tasty. What kind of rub you putting on those bad boys? Hey, Juzor. You're glowing fancifully? Okay. I also... do I look okay on camera today, chat? I zoomed out the camera. Usually I have a narrower field of view, which makes me closer to the camera, but I feel like this might be a better... Like, I feel tiny in the frame, but this might be a better, like, look going forward in this location. Your neck thing is very distracting. Is it? This thing? I like it. It's cute. I've recommended your channel to my mate. Been speaking about UK riots. It'd be nice to hear your take. Hell yeah. All right, folks. Let's dive into the TYT segment. How is it as bad as it seems? I think that the answer might be yes, but we'll find out together for ourselves, huh? Doing our basic due diligence when we see a wild, crazy clip.
They say, has identified as a woman his whole life.
Also, as you can tell, like, I did not want to cover this at all. And frankly, we almost made it. We almost made it throughout, like, the run of this story's lifespan without having to talk about it. But no, TYT has to go a bit viral for apparent transphobia. So let's see what's going on here, I guess. How about your hair down, looking good on camera? If I take my hair down, I'm gonna get really, really hot and sweaty because this basement has no air conditioning.
They say there's no indication Khalif is trans. So the Olympics thinks it's fair for a genetic male to punch a woman so hard in the face she quits and cries, as long as it says female on her passport.
Again, I don't believe that any body has actually released any of the testing done on Amane Khalif. So when they say, like, genetically a man, that's not really backed up by anything other than a Russian boxing organization that after she beat one of their boxers claimed she was a man but refused to release any test results to that effect.
And they're gonna let this guy keep beating up women in Paris and they're just gonna hand him a gold medal for it?
So that was obviously gross. I mean, it was Jesse Waters. You knew that it was going to be pretty gross. It also represents...
Oh, I just noticed John Ederola is going with the Kyle Kalinske frosted tips. Okay, interesting choice.
another retreat on the right where before they would claim that they want to focus on biological women who have the right genitals. Well, now that's not good enough. So he's taken a step back from biological woman to genetic woman, which doesn't even mean anything. But that's where we're at in terms of their.
See, like, this is what I mean. When John's correct on this issue. Like, what does it mean to be a genetic woman? It doesn't mean anything.
Understanding of what exactly a woman is. But what you saw right there is a story that's been literally everywhere. I believe last night, every single Fox program had a segment on this, a story that had already been debunked for hours and hours by the time they went live.
Hey, don't scroll away.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Dude, we're a minute into the video. We're a minute into the video.
Team, and we love you for it.
But they're focusing there on the victory of Algerian boxer Imani Khalif over Italian boxer Angela Carini, who quit 46 seconds into their bout. And as a result of that, some people immediately began tweeting that Khalif was trans and that this was a man engaging in women's sports. And I am sure there are many right-wingers that simply believe that they trusted the wrong people and went insane and started calling for Khalif's head. Of course, Khalif is not trans. The reason that, as Jesse Waters says, there's no evidence she ever identified as anything else is because she has always identified exactly as what she is and what she was born as. But despite that,
which is what being cisgender means. It means a lot, you know, your gender identity aligns with what you were assigned at birth. Like that's what that means.
We're supposed to do this thing now where we try to provide information to sway these people and bring them back with evidence and logic when neither evidence nor logic got them to the dark place they're in. But sure, let's spend a couple of minutes doing that. So, Khalif is an amateur boxer.
Can I just say, like, so much of this has nothing at all to do with biology or genetics or anything like that, right? What this has to do with, and I'm being 100% sincere right now, is with straight cis men who don't want to accidentally be perceived as gay. It's the same thing that motivates like a lot of cis straight dudes to not wash their hands when they use a public restroom. It's the same kind of thing where like people, straight cis men have come up with codes for urinal usage, you know? It's the same kind of thing. It's the same guiding ideology behind no homo. That's what's at play here. It is the debilitating, terrifying dread that cis straight men feel at being possibly labeled or perceived as being a homosexual. Okay? Washing your hands is gay now? Yeah, no, Valinova, there is a shocking number of men think that it is effeminate to wash your hands. Or to use like lotion to like moisturize your hands. Stuff like that. What does cis mean? It just means that your gender identity aligns with what you were assigned at birth. So like if the doctor like picked you up and was like, yep, that looks like a penis, you got assigned male at birth. If they picked you up and they're like, that looks like a vagina, you got assigned female at birth. They don't do extensive like genetic testing to figure out what your birth chromosomes are. They don't do that. They just take a look, they mark it down, and then you go on with your life. And for some people, that's great. That's the majority of people. They are cisgender. But for some people, it doesn't work out as great. Either, you know, it turns out that they're intersex and, you know, they might align more with one gender than the other, or they're just transgender and like they identify as something other than what they were assigned at birth and transition to align their body more with that identity. Oh yeah, no, Four Frogs and a Beanie. Also, yes, there are some men who are terrified of washing their own buttholes because they think it might make them gay. That is also a thing, unfortunately. Please wash your asses. If you are in my chat, this is a mandatory ass wash zone. All right. Seriously? Seriously. You gotta use soap on that thing, okay? You gotta use soap. Now, as for the hand washing thing, 14.6% of men do not wash their hands after using the bathroom. And 35.1% just get their hands wet, but don't use soap. And you know what? I'm not letting women off the hook for this either, okay? Apparently, 7.1% of us don't wash our hands at all after we use the bathroom, and 15.1% of us don't use soap. Women, get your shit together, okay? But 35.1%. But guys, if you add those two percentages together, 14.6 and 35.1, you get 51.7% of men aren't effectively washing their hands. Over half of you guys. You were supposed to get this soap and water thing down in kindergarten, man. As a man who's used a lot of public restrooms, that 15% number is an understatement. Yeah. Also, where did this come from? You might ask. Where is Jack pulling this data from? Well, it's very simple. Okay, it's very, very simple, and it is this Reuters article. Hands down, men worse at bathroom hygiene that prevents coronavirus. Thanks, men. The CDC online fact sheet, hand washing a corporate activity, cites a 2009 study that finds only 31% of men and 65% of women washed their hands after using a public restroom. Ay, ay, ay. According to a 2013 Michigan State University field study conducted by research assistants who observed nearly 4,000 people in restrooms around East Lansing, Michigan, that is where they found the 14.6 and 35.1% numbers. Very distressing. Yeah, wash your hands with soap and water, folks. It's not hard. Takes like 15 seconds of your time. And if you're ever like, well, I don't really need to wash my hands, just remember, you're probably pretty thankful that your surgeon washed their hands before doing surgery on you. Okay? That your surgeons wash their hands because it does something. Wash your hands. Wash your ass. Please. Why, it's not like I pissed on my hands. You did! You did, though. That's the thing. You might not think you pissed on your hands, but you know what? You know how like when a grenade goes off, there's shrapnel? Okay? Much like a grenade going off and shrapnel going everywhere, the piss is going everywhere. The shit is going everywhere, okay? When you flush that toilet, it's all being sprayed up into the air, okay? That's why you wash your goddamn hands. God. My poop don't smell hardly at all because of my diet. Only 2 wipes needed.
Wash
You might
your hands like you want your cooks to wash theirs. PSA _ peach knife _ peach knife _ peach knife.
Peach knife indeed. Charlie, exactly. Wash your hands like you want your cooks to wash theirs. Exactly. Also, I have no response to the yeah, if your poop doesn't smell at all, you might want to get that checked out by a doctor. I feel like poop is kind of supposed to smell. Poof. You wash after, that's the most hygienic? Yeah, of course you wash after. Peach knife is my favorite emoji of all time. It was the first emoji I made for my channel. Hey, Moofy. Pissnado. God. Maybe that's why Trump wanted to nuke the hurricane. It'd send piss everywhere. The ultimate golden shower. Did I miss Cenk's awful take analysis? No, I just got derailed because I was pointing out that the root cause of the massive social reaction that manifests as transphobia, the actual root of that is men who are cis and straight being terrified of being perceived as gay. That's the root of it. We're only 2 minutes into the video. Let's go.
Won a silver medal at the 2022 International Boxing Association Championship, had previously gotten a silver back in the previous Olympics. IBA President Umar Kremlev claimed last year that a previous disqualification from a competition last year were because, quote, it was proven they have XY chromosomes. They, a reference to she, so the misgendering continues. Now, males typically have XY chromosomes, while females typically have XX chromosomes. However, there is the differences of sex development group of conditions. This is a rare condition, but it involves genes, hormones, and reproductive organs.
This is intersex. I think differences of sex development is like a newer medical term for it, but
some people with DSDs are raised as female but have XY sex chromosomes and blood testosterone levels in the male range. So you can have elevated testosterone. So that
is this the female boxer? Yes, this is about Imane Khalif.
Hormone can be different than might be expected. Now, we don't
Volume's
know if
a bit low?
really
Okay.
has DSD. The entire world is collectively making a whole bunch of assumptions and speculation about what this individual.
She doesn't.
What? Oh my god! I was about to pause the video to like agree with John and like back up his point, but Cenk stepped in at the most apropos time to say the dumbest thing imaginable. Holy fuck.
A whole bunch of assumptions and speculation about what this individual.
She doesn't. I'm going to explain why she doesn't.
Exactly. Well, I'm saying a lot of people are weighing in that are suddenly becoming experts in all this, but in a statement.
Okay, maybe it was just bad. Maybe it was just inconvenient timing on my pause, okay? Maybe Cenk's going to be based about this. Maybe.
This week, the IBA said that women did not undergo a testosterone examination, but a separate and recognized test, they say. The statement added that the test and results are confidential. And the IOC, which is overseeing the boxing competition.
So just to be clear here, the International Boxing Association, which is a Russian organization here, said they didn't test testosterone, but they did a separate and secret test that they are not going to tell you about. That's the origin for all of the claims about Imane Khalif, by the way. That they did a separate secret test that they're not going to tell anyone about or show the results of. Yeah, my test is that I made it the fuck up, is basically their explanation here. And that was enough for the entire conservative world to blow up about this beyond all reason.
The test and results are confidential. And the IOC, which is overseeing the boxing competition that we're talking about here, does not test for gender, and there never has been any evidence that either Khalif or fellow boxer Lin Yuting had XY chromosomes or elevated levels of testosterone. They have competed for years, including at the Tokyo Olympics and several world championships. Khalif, by the way, has lost 9 times in international bouts to other women.
Yeah, also, it's not like Russia's pushing their own alt Olympics since they're banned from competing at the Olympics due to sanctions. Yeah. You know, like, this is exactly the kind of shit stirring that Russia, specifically with the Olympics, has a very long history of doing. Hey,
That
Anthony
said,
Schuler.
we have a lot that we're going to get into, including some of the initial tweets that went viral and made this a massive thing. But what do you think?
Okay, so first let's discuss how all this came about in the first place. That'll show you exactly why this nonsense story came up and is completely untrue. And then we'll get into why the Republicans are obsessed with this and how it's going to be their undoing. So that'll be fun.
Okay, I mean, so far you're doing okay, Cenk. Yeah, you know, we didn't all just fall out of the coconut tree. We have to evaluate the context of the clip of all that has come before.
Jesse Waters said, they say this about her, they say that. Who's they?
Many people are saying.
Who's saying it? Because if it turns out she failed a test, you know, and this to the great frustration of a lot of people on the left, I do think past high school that it's okay for organizations, whether it's professional organizations or the Olympics, to do testing and to say, hey, we're going to even exclude trans athletes. Okay, so a lot of the people on the left will disagree with me on that. Some of you, obviously, some folks on this panel disagree with that. So.
Some folks. I think this is a genuine case of many people are saying. Just real quick.
So I was curious, who's saying it? Because if it turns out she failed a test, you know, and this to the great frustration of a lot of people on the left, I do think past high school that it's okay for organizations, whether it's professional organizations or the Olympics, to do testing and to say, hey, we're going to even exclude trans athletes. Okay, so.
Okay, but like, here's the thing. What if the trans athletes pass the tests? Because that's currently what is done, right? Like, if a trans athlete has hormone levels on par with a cisgender woman's, which something that takes about 1 to 2 years on HRT to achieve, and something that is rigorously tested for in acknowledged trans athletes, then what's the problem? Like, that's kind of the crux of the issue here, is that, like, he's saying, well, I think it's fine to just outright ban trans athletes, or to ban athletes that fail their tests, right? So, like, it's kind of like, what about trans athletes who pass those tests? What about trans athletes who, you know, are deemed to have, like, you know, like an acceptable level of, you know, deviation from the norm? Because keep in mind, guys, when we look at the Olympics, you have men with, like, you have people with all kinds of, like, hormone disorders and, like, different genetic things going on that, like, give them advantages or disadvantages in their given sports. I mean, like, Michael Phelps's body does not produce the chemical reaction in his muscles, lactic acid, that causes the burning sensation in almost every other athlete on the planet. You know, he's basically got, like, flippers. He's halfway towards being a mer person, and, like, people are still fine with him, you know? People are still fine with, like, him being the best in the world, and when he wins, do people say, you're a genetic freak, you shouldn't be allowed to compete? No, they say he's the best that ever was. That's what they say. And given the track record of trans athletes at the Olympics, I don't think that there is, or even in high levels of professional sports, I don't think that there is this overwhelming amount of evidence that Cenk seems to believe is out there, that, like, if a trans person participates in a sport, they're going to dominate at it. Yeah, the Olympics also had, I think they might have changed the hormone requirement, maybe, after the Caster Semenya stuff. But yeah, for a very long time, and even to this day in a lot of different ways, the Olympics tests their athletes, guys, pretty rigorously to make sure that they aren't being, like, injected with performance-enhancing drugs. And, like, if they detect, like, a deviation from the norm that stems from, like, a, you know, intersex or gender or hormone issue, like, they will try and get those hormone levels down to more of a median level. There, again, there is no mountain of evidence, like Cenk seems to imply there is, to ban all trans people from a sport. And to make it clear, here's what my position is. I've looked over a lot of the data and the science when it comes to trans people in sports, because I am a trans person. And unfortunately, this conversation has been going for years and years and years now. I have, like, several videos where I do deep dives on many of the studies. But what I have to tell you guys is I have not seen this huge, overwhelming evidence that after 1 to 2 years on HRT, and I do think that there's conversation about whether the limit should be 1 year or 2 years on HRT, but anytime after that, like, there's not really a ton of evidence that trans women can't compete in women's sports. There just isn't. And honestly, if my body didn't produce lactic acid, I'd be so fit. True, same. A lot of this too high testosterone complaint stuff tends to get levied at black women too. Yeah, it's true. A lot of the transphobic arguments are just recycled racism. You know, in a lot of cases. You know, when the Olympics were integrated for the first time, people thought that black women in particular would have freakish levels of mannish strength that would overwhelm and dominate all of the fragile white women at the Olympics. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
So a lot of the people on the left will disagree with me on that. Some of you, obviously, some folks on this panel disagree with that. So I'll come back to the politics of that in a second. So,
oh God, can I also just say, I smell Brianna Wu stink all over Cenk's opinions these days. Like, and we'll get to some of Brianna Wu's takes on this, but I feel like she wields an awful lot of influence over Cenk Uygur's ideas these days, in a way that I would find personally troublesome if I worked at TYT.
Did anybody do that in this case? No. So the people, who was the they? It's IBA that John told you about, and their president, Umar Kremlev. Now, why would the IBA care? Why would Kremlev care?
Because keep in mind, they work together on a pack. I think it's called Rebellion Pack.
Well, it turns out this boxer beat a Russian female boxer right before the last competition, where the Russians really wanted to win, okay? So all of a sudden, the Russian leader of the IBA says, oh.
I mean, I can continue raising the volume a bit. It's just, it's very loud on my end, is kind of the problem.
Well, golly gee, I think she might have failed the test, and the other competitive person that might beat the Russian athlete as well. You want to know who not only the largest, but the only sponsor of the IBA was in that event where they claimed that she failed this ambiguous test that they've never actually shared publicly? Gazprom, a giant Russian oil company, okay? You want to know where this news story was leaked to? It was TASS, a Russian news agency. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, I thought we weren't paying attention to the Russian news outlets anymore. I thought they were propaganda, etc. And now all of a sudden, everybody's like, well, the Russian news said it must be true, okay? So no, this has nothing to do with transgender controversies here in America. No, some crooked Russian dude running.
I mean, it does have something to do with with transgender controversies in America, insofar as every transphobic grifter has come out of the woodwork to grift on this topic, including this one, apparently.
The IBA, which has now been it was decertified before this controversy because they're a bunch of crooks, it looks like, okay? And so this guy, he says dumbass things like, oh, the head of the IOC, the Olympic Committee, is, what did he call him? Some sort of eunuch or pedophile. It's just a total nut job, okay? Utter nut job. That's where this story came from. To the best of our ability to tell, there was no test. They've never said what the test was. They said, it's a very reputable test we can't share with you. Or the Russian
Is it better now, Ms. Drislin?
news agencies reporting it, right? So this is garbage, total dumpster fire of a story. So now the politics of it. Kamala Harris just took the lead by about 5 points in a Trump favoring poll. She's caught him in almost all the swing states. She's passed him in Pennsylvania. She made up a 12-point lead in Nevada. Trump is sliding away. He's flailing like crazy. And you Republicans think it's a good idea to focus on the potential testicles of an Algerian boxer? Have at it.
Yeah, again, the hypothetical testicles, because this is, this is kind of where we're getting into the issue of like, the we can always tell crowd. They just kind of have this idea that they can always tell, but you can't, because you're not going around lifting up every woman's skirt or pulling down every woman's pants and trying to look at their genitals. And even if you did that, apparently that's not good enough anymore, because now you're like, well, we really need to see the chromosomes. And then like, oh, well, it turns out XY women exist. Well, then we need to see the hormone levels. And like, eventually you're getting to like, we need to see the clines. And like, it just, you're talking, we need to see the individual chemical reactions in their body. Like, there's no level of evidence that is ever going to be good enough for transphobes. So don't even try. Most transphobes, even the ones that make like, long, fanciful arguments to try and justify their position, cannot fundamentally deal with the reality of how we live in our world. I've been saying it for years now, but like, if transphobes lived the way that you would need to live in order to justify their gender ideology, they would be in prison as sexual predators. Like, full stop. Because they don't live that way. Because gender's a social construct. But yeah, the true test is, you have to have everyone you meet open a pickle jar first.
Hoss, I can't go for it. You look like idiots. You're making a giant case out of this, like, oh, this is the most important thing in the world. Does she have potential testicles or not? Go ahead. Here's some more rope. Hang yourself. Go for it. Okay, politically speaking.
Whoa. Cenk Uygur just told his audience to go hang themselves. That's crazy, dog. Clip it out of context. We're not going to do that. Okay, we're just gonna look at what he says, and I think honestly the person getting rope here in this is unfortunately it's Cenk. Cenk is the one who's damaging himself here.
This is so dumb of the right wing to focus on this. So please keep going.
Yeah. I mean, my opinion on this, I think it's important to know the IOC basically called the IBA out on that. They issued a statement that said effectively and exactly that, Cenk, that like this was a unilateral decision made by one guy, and no one's seen those tests. But I will say, and I will push back, because I do feel like some of the anti-trans athlete speak is a slippery slope into broader anti-trans.
Yeah, that's why Christopher Rufo pioneered the trans kids in sports argument. Like this, it is important, and I think Fran does a good job here recentering it. The explicit reason everyone in the United States started talking about trans kids in schools and in sports is specifically because of a Republican psyop perpetuated by and originated by Christopher Rufo, the same guy who was behind the CRT stuff from a few years ago, the same guy who's now pushing DEI as like an alternative to the N-word. Like, what we're talking about here is like known fact, and I know that Cenk knows this, but he still goes along with the Chris Rufo argument anyway, which is very weird to me.
Behavior and also policing of athletes writ large. Beyond Khalif, earlier this week, a rugby player for the American team, Ilona Maher, was called a man because she's 6'6" and a massive unit. And she successfully helped that team win bronze, the very first time an American team has won a medal in rugby. And she was called a man. Why? Because she's big, because she's a rugby player. And so when we start to say that trans people can't play in Olympic sports, right? They can't play in the sport of their chosen gender. Then we start to, everyone becomes a cop, and everyone starts to look.
Yep, it makes everyone into the gender police. You know, your very own gender Gestapo.
At everyone's makeup and their muscles and their cheekbones and what looks different and what they think in their subjective mind a woman or a man should and does look like. And so I just want to say that sometimes when we traffic in these ideas that trans people should not be.
Also, just real quick, if you ever are like, trans women and cis women could never look the same, like, bro, you just don't see, like, you don't see all women. You aren't paying attention to the full spectrum of women out there. You know, like when you see like an older like cis woman, you know, like there's a lot of stuff that happens when menopause hits, okay? There's a lot of stuff that happens to a woman's body. And you know what? Turns out there's a lot of different shapes and designs and like postures and sizes that women can be. A lot of this, I think, also originates in this desire to control women's bodies and this desire to make every woman, regardless of their age or health, into someone that looks relatively like they're a 25 and a supermodel. You know, like it just full stop. Just a problem with patriarchy that we just haven't really addressed as a society.
Able to participate in sports at these levels, it does lead to things like Jesse Waters openly saying that on primetime television. And I want to just center that when we stand with trans people, yes, even trans athletes, that all goes away and we stand with them no matter what. But you start to dabble and you open up, everyone becomes genital police. And I just have to push back on that. And you've done it, Cenk.
I totally
You've
disagree.
done it.
I totally disagree. So, first of all, when you have an extreme position, you have an extreme position.
You know, I think Fran put all of that forward in basically the least confrontational way possible while still pushing back on his, like, transphobic ideas.
I love how many women push back on the protect women's spaces arguments. Ladies rock.
Charlie, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. And yeah, like, women absolutely tend to have trans people's backs, and that's wonderful. But like, I don't know, Cenk gets really mad here.
Position that says, no, we don't ever ask anyone. And I think the Olympics position is actually absurd. They don't do any genetic testing. They don't do any testing. So you could, since they don't do any testing at all, you can just walk in, call yourself a female, not be trans. Trans people are actually
do it, Cenk. Do it.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, you can say it, but then what's going to happen?
Rugby,
Somebody's going to do it, and they're going to get away with it, and then everybody's going to be furious. Okay.
Again, this can only come out of the mouth of a man who has no idea how the Olympics works. Like, yeah, like to her point, go do it, Cenk. Go give it a shot. You'll probably get less far than you did with your presidential campaign, and that's saying a lot. Like, he literally, you know, and again, maybe this grows out of a thing a lot of older guys do, where they're just like, yeah, I could be in the Olympics. You know, it's the same kind of thing where like a lot of like middle-aged dads looked at the shooter who competed at the Olympics for Turkey and were just like, huh, I could do that. You know? He looks like he's just like me for real. You know, like he just rolled out of bed this morning. I too could get a silver medal at the Olympics in shooting. You know, Cenk is really coming off like that right now, and it's weird. It's off-putting. But like he thinks that what will happen is that kind of guy will roll out of bed one morning and be like, I'm going to be in rugby in the Olympics for the women's team. And like, Cenk, do you really know, in your entire history, your long history as a human being on this earth, have you met a lot of men who would lie and just say that they're actually women in order to compete in the Olympics and get a medal, and then what's the end game? Do they continue to pretend to be a woman for the rest of their lives? Do they detransition after that? Because I'm assuming that some sort of, like, I'm not assuming. I know the Olympics has medical categorization, meaning that, like, you have to meet certain standards in order to compete as a trans person. So, like, the entire thought process, the entire thought experiment here is just granting Cenk that there are no barriers for like a cisgender man to just lie, you know? And there are, but if we grant that, like, what's the end game? Are they just going to pretend to be a trans person forever? Do they detransition afterwards? Like, what's the plan here? And the transphobes have still said nothing about Hergy Bakyadin. Yeah, because the transphobes are like, oh, well, Hergy Bakyadin also doesn't think trans people should compete in the Olympics. And, you know, he's one of the good ones because while he identifies as a man, he doesn't take testosterone and he's competing in the Olympics like that. In the women's category. And so they're like, yeah, transphobes think that's how it should be. If trans people are allowed to exist at all, which, again, transphobes don't think that, but, you know, they tend to slow walk their goals. Cenk has always been like the more capitalist part of the Young Turks, and his accelerated slide to the right recently has been very sad to see. John just looks so over it already. My God, I'm sorry. John Itarola's expression right here is the expression of a man who's heard Cenk talk about this way too many times.
Okay, it's all right. I can't stand it, and it doesn't help trans people at all to have these extreme positions.
Yeah, the extreme position of trans people should be able to equally participate in society. That's yeah. Pushing for a normalization of trans people in every element of society apparently is the extreme position to Cenk.
Oh yeah. Don't test anyone. Just take their.
Again, the Olympics tests people. Okay, like national leagues test people. The idea that no one's testing anyone in the Olympics is just ahistorical and not true at all currently.
word for it. I think it's terrible politics.
It's not an extreme position. It comes from a position of human rights, and it does help all
It's not
people.
a human right to compete in the other genders'
What you see there is when what you just saw are women, are biological women being attacked.
Like Cenk is trying to have his cake and eat it too here. Like he's trying to say, yeah, trans people deserve equal rights and respect in all areas of life, except for this one. You can't have it in this one. And he's being really fucking weird about it.
Attacked for being trans because of the anti-trans athletic narrative that has already festered and has now come for these women. And so what are the women to do? Say, I'm not a man. In fact, screw, like, I'm not a trans man. Are you kidding me? No. We all stand in solidarity together. That's how we actually fight the right when it comes to their bull crap culture wars that lead nowhere, and it doesn't serve. Look, I understand, Cenk. You're in the majority. You're in the majority.
Wait, isn't it kind of weird they're cool with trans men not taking testosterone competing against cis women? Well, trans men not taking testosterone to a transphobe is just a woman. Like that's what you have to understand. That's why they're okay with trans men who aren't taking testosterone. They just see that and interpret it in their transphobic worldview as women competing against women.
I'm in the
Shai Halid, I don't think anyone's paying Cenk to have this view. I think he's surrounded himself with dipshits, to say the least, for his different political runs and like super PACs that he's started. So like, yeah, like legit, yeah, legit trans men. You know, people who were assigned female at birth and then are transitioning to man. When they compete in the women's category and they aren't taking testosterone, but transphobes just see that as women competing against women.
The minority. Most people disagree that trans athletes should participate in Olympic sports. Most people don't agree with me. But hell, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like if you asked people like 5 years ago if trans athletes should compete in sports, they would have said yes. Like the entire reason most people disagree with Fran's position right now is because the transphobic attacks on trans athletes, you know, spearheaded by the conservative movement and the likes of Christopher Rufo, has succeeded, you know, and the fact that it's succeeded is kind of shown by the fact that Cenk Uygur is pushing it on his show. It's very sad. It's very, very sad.
I'm willing to stand on a hill that is unpopular.
Mr. Anderson, just go back to Benny Carrillo. Benny's got some weird takes on North Korea. I'll just say that.
And fight for people and for their human rights.
Yeah, look, we could spend an hour debating this, and I have in the past. But when
not really though.
Yeah.
The shade. Not really though. You haven't really spent an hour debating this in the past.
Really. Not really debate, more of an agreement.
Okay, whatever. I'm happy to debate anybody about it. I think I don't agree.
Okay.
And you're never going to get me to agree by saying it's still left wing.
What is Fran's last name? Because her first name's Francesca, right? And my inclination is to call her Francesca Ramsey, but I know that is not the same person.
Position. It's the pro-trans position. I don't
Fiorentini. Thank you. I could not for the life of me remember her last name.
think it's a pro-trans position at all.
You should just offer a platform.
Okay.
You don't have to agree.
All right. So when your opponent is in the middle of doing something radical, step out of the way and let them do it instead of stepping in the way and saying, hey, I'm more radical. Okay, I think it's terrible politics. It's terrible for trans people. I think it's terrible for the LGBTQ community, and I think it's terrible for the people who are looking to defeat Trump. So can we?
So we have now listened to 12 minutes of this almost 20-minute long video. And I think we can definitively say that the clip doesn't seem to be taken that far out of context. You know, like, Cenk is transphobic about this. What the fuck does this mean? I still don't know.
Please get out of the way and let the Republicans do the dumb things.
I think.
Oh, that's not why Benny. No, that isn't why Benny left TYT, for sure. But she left TYT because of the transphobia.
You're laying out a hypothetical that is conceivable. Someone can conceive of it happening, but I think the reason you keep having Republicans over and over. By the way, there's already another case of this in boxing. You identified Francesca, a case in rugby. There are so few trans athletes that the
like. Can I just say, like, and I feel like if I talked with John, like, he would agree with me on this. So this isn't to attack John here. But you can conceive of, like, a cisgender man pretending to be trans to go into a bathroom to do, like, you know, to do a rape or something. That you can conceive of that in your head. But, like, I can conceive of a lot of things. I can conceive of, like, a blue elephant with wings hovering above my house. But that doesn't mean that when I go outside and look up there that I'm going to see that, you know? In the same way, you can conceive of a man pretending to be a trans person to get access to a bathroom. But I have to ask, who is that man getting permission from to use the bathroom that he needs to be, like, he needs to pretend to be trans? Who in this hypothetical is, like, checking genders for bathrooms? We'll say. The answer is there aren't anybody, there isn't anybody, so, like, people don't need, like, men don't need to pretend to be trans in order to just walk into a bathroom and do a sex crime. Like, that's just a thing men can already do. There's not again, you all know this, but there's not, like, a magical force shield around, like, a women's bathroom that prevents men from going in. Like, that doesn't exist. And when it comes to the Olympics, there's more than that going on. You know, like, there is actual barriers involved. There is testing. There is, like, a need to verify, like, a consistent gender identity. And, like, you know, that all happens in high-level sporting events. So, like, while it's conceivable that someone could do this, it's conceivable in the same way that the blue elephant with wings is conceivable. It's just not a thing that's going to happen.
Right constantly invents trans athletes to attack. That is how hypothetical their problem is, that they can't even talk about it actually happening. They just keep pointing at people who aren't trans and saying they're trans. In sports, it even not, Michelle Obama gets to be trans because they need someone to be trans. The wife of Emmanuel Macron has to be trans because they need someone to be trans. They invent trans people because trans people do not constantly transgress and ruin their lives, so they can't actually point to them. They have to invent fictional trans people to talk about.
That's exactly my point, and I totally agree with John on that, even if we...
That's exactly my point, except when it comes to sports, when apparently Cenk thinks that will absolutely happen. Like, this is the thing. You can't have your cake and eat it too about this one, bud. Like, either you're buying into the hatred that John just articulated, or you're not. You can't partially buy into it there.
We might disagree on the other things. So my point is, at most, this affects 7 people in the country. So I'm not saying that you should abandon those 7 people. We have an honest difference.
No, that is absolutely what Cenk is saying. I'm going to predict here that, because he talked at the beginning of this video, I'm going to predict here that his political prescription is that we, as the left, drop trans athletes as an issue because it is unpopular and might hurt our chances of winning. I'm going to guess that that's somewhere in his brain and might come out in this segment. Again, haven't pre-watched this.
Of opinion on how to help those 7 people, okay? But if the Republicans are making a giant deal out of how much they hate those 7 people, okay, let them punch themselves in the face over and over and over again. So that's why politically, guys, do not get mired in this muck, right?
Yep, exactly. Exactly, there it is. There it is, everybody. There it is. Yeah, you know, look, does that mean we abandon those people? No. Does that mean that we stand up for them where it really matters in the realm of politics, where people are trying to like get trans people banned from like bathrooms and shit? I guess in Cenk's world it means you retreat from all this. And now maybe he'd be like, oh, that's unfair. That's unfair. Okay, I'm just saying on the trans sports stuff. It's like, no. No. We give them not a single goddamn inch. That's how we win. We win from a position of strength, not from a position of compromising with idiots who don't know what they're talking about because they might feel a little uncomfortable. You don't appease morons who want the worst outcomes for people that they dislike because they fall into a different category that they think is just undesirable. No. You don't cede ground to weirdos. Exactly, Charlie. And what Cenk is doing here is saying, look, it's just 7 people, okay? We don't get mired in the politics of defending 7 people. But that's the thing. That's how they win. That's how conservatives have always chipped away at different rights and protections, because it starts at, say, well, cutting funding to an abortion clinic. And then it becomes, oh, we'll put up a bunch of, fake abortion clinics around that abortion clinic. And then it becomes, look, we believe everyone has the right to an abortion, but, only if that abortion happens in the first trimester. Oh, well, we actually believe only in the right to an abortion if you get it in the first 5 weeks. Well, actually, we don't believe that you have the right to an abortion at all. You just have the right, if your life is in danger or if, you were raped. And then suddenly the Supreme Court overturns it. This is like the progression of events and rhetoric that happened with abortion rights. And it's the same kind of thing that conservatives want to do to trans people. They start with trans people in sports. That was designed as a wedge issue per Christopher Rufo. He's not shy about talking about it. He's very proud of his ability to influence national conversation. But it starts with that. When they win on that issue, they then use that as a platform to launch additional attacks down the line. It might not be a big deal that, trans people, can't play in Olympic level sports. Oh no, sad day. But then it goes, well, if they can't compete in Olympic sports, they can't compete in, national sports. Well, and then they shouldn't be able to compete in college sports or high school sports. And you know what? Since we've acknowledged this degree of difference here, maybe we shouldn't let trans people use bathrooms that align with their gender identity. Maybe, maybe we should expand the laws against that in Florida to just all public and private bathrooms. Well, and now, really the doctors are all grifting off of those trans people. Let's expand it to that as well. And now Cenk said, not to do Cenk too dirty, he says he only agrees with that first step. But frankly, the lack of consistency I see in his position on this particular issue makes me believe that while he's currently fine with just the first step, I think he could be slow-walked to a lot of the subsequent steps. because they don't affect him. Because he doesn't have a dog in the race. So to him, it's not that important if the end goal of the conservative movement is eradication of trans people. He's willing to agree to at least partially curtailing our rights. And that's pretty weak. It's pretty sad.
Right? Make fun of them for inventing trans people to hate. You're totally right about it.
We already do that. We already do that. But we can do that while also defending the right for trans people to exist in every aspect of our society.
That, John, they hate so much that they have to invent problems that don't even exist and then make fun of them for that. I think that's a much better political strategy. And by the way, I found a quote of the idiot who runs the IBA. He called the head of the IOC a chief sodomite.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, and so look, when the Republicans.
Oh, thank you for the £5 super chat, Koser.
New sub here, Sir Zero recommended your channel to me, I'm liking it here so far. BTW people 200 of us watching and only on 39 likes, let's bump that up.
Damn. Oh, damn, we do have 200 people watching. Yeah, guys, come on, like the stream, all right? We got 87 likes right now, according to my live tracker. Pump those numbers up, all right? And thanks for, I'm glad you're enjoying your first stream. Oh my god. I can see why people do stream after stream about TYT. The numbers are crazy. I just never want my stream to be the let's gather around and hate TYT channel, because like I'm not super interested in this. But what I am interested in is like when it feels like the channel has hit like a new level of like agreement with conservatives. I feel like this is something of a milestone. I know this isn't the first time Cenk has made arguments like this, but I feel like in this controversy to be doubling down on that rhetoric is pretty disgusting, frankly. I am glad that Anna Kasparian is not on this show, because on the show in this particular moment, because I can see this going much, much worse. I tried to get Anna to understand trans inclusive language multiple times. She just, it's sad. I had her on the show, and like I thought I was getting through to her, and it just didn't happen. Also, did I see that KF Logan raided? Welcome, Raiders. What's the chat next to the video? That's riverboat.gg. That's my chat. If you go to the riverboat.gg site, that is where you can join those fine chatters. And also support me directly.
Because they're like, oh, I love that guy who called the other guy a chief sodomite.
Again, so Winby, I have to push back on this a little bit. I genuinely, in the case of Cenk and in the case of Anna, I want to take off the table that it's being done for money. I don't think either of them have the positions they are in because of money. I don't think they fall into the same category of grifting as Jimmy Dore. I think that really what the issue is here is that Anna had some traumatic experiences with homeless people that led her to a far more conservative position than what she had in the past. And that has led her towards a lot of other more conservative thinkers. She talked a lot about how she used to listen to Joe Rogan, Sam Harris. Like, there's a lot of, Jesse Singal. There's a lot of conservative adjacent but not explicitly conservative influencers that she surrounded herself with that gave her clearer, more satisfying emotional answers to problems that she directly encountered. And to some people, like after a traumatic thing, something that resonates with them on a more emotional level rather than a more like policy oriented level, well, that's the way people get over it, you know? I've had traumatic experiences with homeless people, and it did not drive me to embrace fascism. Yeah, but like you can understand, like you're built in a different way. You know, different people have different catalysts that radicalize them. You know, either to better positions or worse ones. I don't think that you need to put it down to like someone's paying her off to have like worse opinions. I think genuinely sometimes small interactions can add up to a radicalizing effect. And I think that's the case with Anna. And in the case with Cenk, I just think he's surrounded himself with a lot of like politically liberal brain rot individuals like Brianna Wu. And that has essentially surrounded him with people who have terrible advice, who have terrible opinions and reinforce his worst impulses. So I think that's what's going on here. I don't think it is
the
a money thing.
The Martin Niemöller quote comes to mind. Eventually, it's just you, and no one is left to speak in your defense.
Exactly, PC Schwarz. Thank you for the $5 dono. TYT has always had bad takes. True. It's just gotten more acute with time.
Great, wonderful. Here, come, just tell everybody, because you look so stupid and hateful.
Don't call them weird, though. I want to make a couple of quick points about this specific case, though. So on her and her record, so like when you find out that she has lost 9 times, that could influence your evaluation.
Oh, did you watch the TYT documentary? There was some guy in chat months ago who wanted me to see like an early version of the TYT documentary. I didn't feel comfortable going over it on stream. A lot of it felt very inside baseball about the company in a way I haven't gone over it on stream since. Like I wanted to see kind of the finished product before like I like gave it an endorsement. What TYT is all about. It's one of the largest left-leaning online news outlets.
Of whether it's fair for her to compete. When you find
Wait,
out,
does Cenk really think the weird attack is bad? I genuinely have no idea.
That in her 37 victories, she has only 5 knockouts. It goes against the attempted narrative that she is She-Hulk and no person can stand against them. But the issue with that is we can't expect them to know that because none of the people, and we can show you J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk and Riley Gaines and Donald Trump and Valentina Gomez and Jesse Waters and literally all of them complaining about this. None of them give one single.
Well, Remy, that's the thing. A bad experience can mess someone up, but the thing that you're adding at the end there, that's something you have to work through and get over. I agree that that is something you should do. You should work through and get over an issue in order to live a happy and fulfilling life. But many people don't work through those issues. You know, like if you have an easier shortcut to a catharsis by blaming other people or, you know, changing your political stance, oftentimes people will take the easier route. You know? Jimmy Dore, yes, Jimmy Dore was on TYT, as was Dave Rubin. Doesn't the left wing help each other? Not in the online space, apparently. I'm doing my best to make sure we're organizing together, but like, it takes a fucking lot of work.
Quantum of a damn about women's boxing. I want to be super clear about that. None of them watched a boxing.
Wait, the TYT okay, I don't know which TYT documentary you're talking about, Anarcho and Arachnid.
Match. They didn't watch this one. None of them, even after this, will watch a single one. They don't care about women's boxing more than they care about literally any women's sport, to be very, very clear. And on the evaluation of what is a woman, a question they love to ask, they kept saying it's not a social construct. It's not a frame of mind. It's not what you believe yourself to be. It's not an identity. It's in your pants. It's your genitals. Oops, that's not good enough. It's not that because she has too much testosterone. That's it. It's the hormones. If you change your hormones, then it doesn't matter if you were born with a vagina. You're not anymore because your hormones changed. Now you're a man. But they don't believe that hormone replacement therapy changes your gender. They've never given ground on that. And suddenly that's their retreat point, is if your hormones are out of whack, it doesn't matter what's in your pants. The entire thing is ridiculous. And the final point I want to make, and I apologize.
Again, I think John Idarolo is a good egg. Hey, young black economist. And also, as someone with a lot of trauma and PTSD, the sooner I realized my trauma wasn't a reason to change how I treat people, the better my life was. Yeah, exactly, Brutus Magnuson. But that's a hard conclusion for some people to reach, unfortunately. And yeah, Dave Rubin originally was on TYT, and he split shortly after he realized that apparently it wasn't popular in progressive circles to defend Israel bombing a school full of kids. So, yeah, and that wasn't like a week or two ago. That was like 12 years ago.
I've been thinking about this for like 48 hours straight. If they wanted to talk about protecting women, there's a rapist at the Olympics right now. There's a volleyball player who raped a 12-year-old. They don't got anything to say about that.
Yeah, this volleyball player, by the way, raped a 12-year-old and served only 1 year in prison before being let out. And he's being allowed to compete.
Because they don't care, because they're not paying attention. But also, to be clear, if they wanted to talk about how important female athletes are and their amazing accomplishments and all that, and if they could ever bring themselves to do that without it being about a trans athlete, Katie Ledecky became the most decorated American woman in Olympic history. Simone Biles is now the most decorated female gymnast in world history. The literal GOAT. They did amazing historic things, and not a single one of these people cares at all about it. Not interested what's.
Yeah, for more info on that story, by the way, just real quick. Steven van de Velde was allowed to compete in the Olympics. And yeah, he's Dutch. He raped a 12-year-old in England in 2016 and served about a year in prison, served 13 months. And yeah. Again, the coverage of this is even very weird, you know? Like, the article opens by kind of mentioning in broad strokes that, but then it goes into just talking about like and here's how the matches went. It's very bizarre. But meanwhile, conservatives will go wild about, you know, a supposedly trans boxer, but you know, it's like, yeah, he raped the 12-year-old, you know, 8 years ago. That's fine.
Whatsoever, because women are irrelevant. All of this is a defense mechanism from a movement of misogynists that know how regressive they look when it comes to women and are constantly desperately looking for a shallow cloak that allows them to pretend that they give a damn about women for even a single second. That's all this is.
Amen.
Yeah.
And also, just a correction, it's cisgender, not biological. So let's just be able to say cisgender women. We should normalize cisgender. That's
Francesca Fiorentini.
It's easy
I
enough
agree.
for us to do.
I will only say that when I say that, I'm saying it's the way they use that term. I don't use that term, but they say that's what they want, and then it's not good enough in the end.
Yeah.
And I do know it's a minority, and all I have to say, all I am saying is that if and when there is a trans athlete, can we stand with them? And can we see and tie our
Francesca Fiorentini is like single-handedly saving this segment. Otherwise, it would just be like Cenk going on like a transphobic monologue. Oh, God.
Our own liberation together and our own defense against this bigotry together. And me as a feminist, me as a cisgender woman, I believe that my own liberation, my fight against that misogyny that John's talking about, if someone were to call me a man, say, I'm not a man, but also I stand with trans people, I stand with trans athletes. And I hope that we will see that eventually one day, even for those 7 people. I do think it matters.
Yeah, all right, last thing I'll say on it is,
Man, just let her have the last word. That was such a good ending for like a strong progressive message at the end of this, and Cenk's gonna take a giant dump on it.
Similar to what John was saying, Imani Khalifa has lost 9 matches, but they're convinced, oh my God, this is a giant issue. She's dominating the sport. So when I was gonna make a similar point about Lineker, she won the 1500 meter race by 17 seconds.
That's insane.
It's unheard of. There was no one else in the frame. It looked like there was no one else in the pool. The top, you know how many of the top 20 times in the top swimming race, Katie Lineker has come in #1? In other words, she owns the record of the top 20, all 20. She has all 20 of the fastest times, okay? She's unbelievable. So they don't care who's actually dominant in the sport. They don't actually care about the competition. Oh, well, look, man, if you have a man, you can't compete and blah, blah, blah. Katie Lineker's killing them, no matter who's in the race, right? They don't care, oh, that it's unfair that she has a genetic advantage because she's better than them, right? That's the whole point of the Olympics.
Yeah, so why can't you extend that to trans people, Cenk? Who the fuck is Katie Ledecky? Katie Ledecky is like one of the top swimmers in the women's division, and she's here. Maybe this image will help sum up why she might be talked about quite a bit. Just just throwing it out here, guys.
All they care about is how do we get people to focus all their hatred on people that are in the LGBTQ community. So Khalifa is not dominant in the sport. It doesn't matter. They're just using it as an excuse to attack that community because their whole point is hatred. That's why this is so dumb politically. They keep assuming that the average American is as hateful as they are. And
then why seed the ground, Cenk? Why on earth seed the ground to these hateful bigots on this one topic? Why? If it's so politically damaging, then stand with them and allow them to damage themselves. Let them crash upon our ramparts. Our trans-colored ramparts. With let them stumble into the moat filled with blahages, okay? If it's so damaging, why are you taking this terrible position on this? Yeah, but like, and Raz, like that's kind of the thing. Decent point at the end here, but made by a guy who earlier in the video suggested throwing like trans athletes under the bus because it's not politically expedient. So which is it? Is it politically expedient to allow conservatives to attack trans people unchecked? Or is it politically expedient to stand by the people being attacked while the attackers look ridiculous? I think it's the second one, really. You take the Blahaj road and we'll take the Blow road. What? So, yeah, I think we've come to the conclusion here that no, it was actually in context pretty transphobic of Cenk, and for whatever reason he has staked his flag on it being okay to be transphobic against trans athletes in like top tiers of competition. And you know, like, again, I talked about this briefly at the beginning. There is one point of debate about trans athletes that I can acknowledge as being somewhat legitimate and grounded in the science. And that is whether it is okay for trans athletes to begin competition in a different gendered division after 1 year on HRT or after 2 years on HRT. The general information we have is that after 2 years on HRT, pretty much every single trans athlete is on the same level of like physical attainment as a non-trans athlete. Wait, non-trans athlete, as a cisgender athlete. There we go. Oh, the below low road joke only makes sense if blahaj is pronounced the Swedish way. Blahaj, yeah, true. Yeah, no, it's Cenk is again trying to say, you know, he supports trans people and trans rights and like, you know, the ability to identify as whatever gender you'd like. And you deserve all of the respect and to be integrated into society in all ways, except when it comes to sports. Nah, it doesn't work that way. It's funnier if you use the naive pronunciation. Yeah, true. Which is why I insist on saying it. I will never correct how I say blahaj. They're non-trans athletes now. Yeah, look, you have trans athletes and you have non-trans athletes, all right? I don't understand why gender divisions are even necessary for many sports. If the issue is that certain people have advantages, then just make non-gendered performance brackets. Yeah. I mean, I would think that that should be the case as well. I think we should have a different paradigm for dividing up sports. Generally, I think that one of the reasons we have gender divisions when it comes to things like chess or whatever, the reason being like historically it's been a male dominated sport. And so like because of that, there then arises like small scale women leagues, and those then get big enough to warrant like a women's division at the Olympics, you know, like that's kind of how that works. And so it's less an intentional splitting and more just like going with what has naturally arisen over time. And I think that we should acknowledge that while also and be more intentional about getting people involved in sports, while also like, you know, maybe getting rid of the divisions at higher levels. We don't need to replicate that for no reason. And also, yes, there is a history of like when before they gender segregated, women beating men and men being very, very butthurt about it. You're kind of liking the mixed gender relays in track and swimming? Did they have that at the Olympics this year? I have to be full honesty, full transparency. I do not watch the Olympics, guys. Sports are not my thing. Mixed gender team sports would be neat, right? Yeah. Also, some male chess players are too misogynistic. Yeah, but you know what? If you got a misogynistic athlete, kick them the fuck out. Integrate the sport and kick out the assholes. You know, you need to have good manner on and off the pitch, as it were. In esports, a lot of gender divisions came up because women were getting such severe harassment at events. Yeah, and that's the thing. Police the events better. We can just expel teams that are behaving in that way. That is exhausting. Yeah. Like in chess, it's not just common, but considered fundamental courtesy to concede if you recognize you're beaten. Men will push every round with a woman player to the time limit or the mate, meaning women are running on average 20 extra turns every match of chasing a guy's king around the board. Fun. Yeah, Steven Van de Velde. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Yeah, but like the reason there are so many queer people in fighting games now is almost entirely due to Sonic Fox. And man, that gentle them is cool as hell. Oh boy. I'm not gonna lie, part of the reason I've avoided segments like this is that talking about the trans boxer stuff, man, it tires me out. It makes me so exhausted. Also, can someone please confirm to me whether or not this picture of Joe Rogan has been photoshopped? It looks like it's photoshopped, but I can't tell if it's just bad fashion or if that's just what he looks like, man. Is he unironically built like this? Did this get photoshopped? Can someone is this just Joe? This is just him? He literally looks like the grandpa from King of the Hill. He looks like he got his shins blown off in Korea. That's just him? Can you link? Yeah, here you go. I just... I need like a good picture of him. I mean, it's basically the same guy. Right? Like... It's the same picture. It's from his Netflix special. Oh, Joe Rogan mocks trans people COVID vaccine in new Netflix special. Apparently, this just came out. Is this from his new transphobic friendly comedy club? Is that what we're doing? God. He looks like a 5-year-old's drawing of what a human is supposed to. It's giving Minion Cotton Hill. Yeah, it really is. Oh, that's right. That's what the grandpa's name is. It's Cotton. My God. Oh, yeah. Here, can we just Yeah, when I say, by the way, that I think Cenk Uygur is being influenced by Brianna Wu on this issue in particular and how he's approaching it and how he's talking about it, I mean very specifically that I've seen Brianna Wu make almost exactly the same arguments on Twitter. look, I'm unapologetically 1000% pro-trans, but y'all are living in a dream if you don't think this Olympic controversy is a political problem for trans people. Now, so far, yeah, this controversy is a problem for trans people because cis people won't shut up about it and won't leave us alone. You can't do this smug thing where you excellent Team America reference in 2024. She's not trans, I can ignore. Politics doesn't work that way. This situation was created by a very loose, incoherent rule, very loose, incoherent rules around trans athletes and intersex people. To be frank, they're trying to please everyone and have created a shitty, non-functioning policy that is an optics nightmare for trans people. The first step is people serious about trans public policy, publicly stating we should cede this fight and focus on more important ones like gender-affirming healthcare access. I've done that, and I invite you to do it as well. Again, why cede anything to the worst people in the world, especially when they're making themselves look bad? We don't have to do anything. They're already fucking themselves. Yo, what happened to Brianna Wu? Nothing happened to her, guys. Like she's just like this. She's a bad person, frankly, and she's also a dumb person. I do not have a lot of respect for her at all. And again, this is I have worked with her on things. Like, I have a very low opinion of her, as do most people who have worked with her directly. So it's just like, again, if this is damaging to conservatives on this issue, let them damage themselves. Stand by trans people. Lift up these issues. Fight for them. We're winning on them. You know, every poll that comes out about how, like, Republicans feel about trans people and, like, trans issues being put front and center with this current campaign, every single time, like, frankly, they are they're hurting themselves. They're hurting their movement. And, like, they've got nothing left, so conservatives are turning hard onto transphobia. Here's Donald Trump, absolutely desperate, from one of his latest rallies.
To use the barbells. I said, now all you have to do is look at the boxers. This young girl from Italy, a champion boxer, she got hit so hard she didn't know what the hell hit her. It's a person that transitioned. He was a good male boxer. Yeah.
This guy right here got more of a crowd response than Donald Trump doing the transphobia bit. Like, you guys notice this, right? Like, listen to the crowd response from what he's talking about here. You know, don't listen to him. Listen to how the crowd is reacting to him.
I said, now all you have to do is look at the boxers. This young girl from Italy, a champion boxer, she got hit so hard she didn't know what the hell hit her. It's a person that transitioned. He was a good male boxer. Yeah, he was a good male boxer.
Like, the people behind him are even just kind of, like, listlessly staring around.
And she didn't even go down. He hit her with 2 jabs, and she said, I'm out. To use the barbells.
It's not a popular position. It does not mobilize. It doesn't even mobilize Trump's base, guys. The most transphobic people in the country aren't mobilized by his rhetoric. What did he say? Oh, he said something about Michelle Obama because, again, in conservative circles, when they're being transphobic, they can't help but talk about how Michelle Obama is actually a man. That's been an attack that they've been regurgitating again and again and again. It ties into the Obama is secretly gay conspiracy that they peddle. that he's secretly gay, and that's why his wife is a trans woman, because she's secretly a man. He literally did big... Yeah, well, not... Like, again, even Donald Trump didn't do big mic discourse. This rando behind him did.
But now all you have to do is look at the boxers.
Again, zero interest from the crowd in this transphobic line of attack. We just watched it on Denim's stream. It was awful. It is awful. You know, I miss talking with Denims. She's gotten too big. She's gotten too big for me. Doesn't she have kids that she gave birth to? Yeah, but since when have facts ever gotten in the way of conservatives believing things? Who do you have a low opinion of? Brianna Wu. I can't believe we've had several days of the most idiotic whining because a boxer punched another boxer hard. Yeah, guys, look, I have a confession to make here. When I stepped into the punching square, I didn't expect to get punched. I didn't, you know, I was expecting to get punched, but I guess not as hard. Trump's rallies and crowds have gotten pretty low energy. Yeah, but, like, that's the thing. Transphobia is not popular enough to actually, like, save the energy of his rallies. They aren't like, woo, he's doing the transphobia bit. Like, they're bored, guys. They're bored of the transphobia. It's been played out. They've heard it too many times. Hey, don't go in that ring. People are punching in there. Trump is floundering hard. Yeah, it's really great to see, frankly. Today, for the very first time in a long while, it appears that the Dems are favored to win the election, according to Nate Silver. And yeah, it's you know, it's a good day. All right, it's a real good day from where we were in July. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Made up like a 15-point deficit. Again, according to Nate Silver. So, grain of salt and all that. RFK with the 0% chance. Yeah. Hey, Gamer G. Good to see RFK is making leaps and bounds in polling. I wonder if the footage of him getting a call from Donald Trump and kind of colluding with him on the campaign trail, I wonder if that resonated at all with the people who are RFK stans. I'm going to guess not, but, you know, you never know. All right. Oh God. I do not like this woman, and I hate that people keep making me talk about her. But earlier today, when I went to her Twitter page to find the quote that I had seen the other day, came across one of her latest tweets. And I'm just so tired, okay? We're going to start with what she quote tweeted, okay? And this quote tweet is from one Walter Masterson, which I think many of you might be familiar with. And he says, "When did Star Trek get so political?" and he posted a screenshot from r/conservative. Okay, in this screenshot it says Star Trek convention turns political, and apparently this is from a Trump Republican. I have a couple of friends up in Vegas this weekend. They wanted to turn their brains off and go nerd out at some and meet some Star Trek actors and have some fun. Today, during our a panel with Jerry Ryan, 7 of 9, she went off for around 10 minutes straight telling Trump supporters to go fuck themselves multiple times. A panel with Captain Janeway had a fan ask her about her political opinions, and the panel turned into a huge Kamala love fest. My friends now feel hated by everyone there and are keeping quiet. Say what you will, and is true, of Star Trek, particularly modern Star Trek, but it's a fucking convention. Why can't people just fucking nerd out about stupid, fun sci-fi shit? Why do leftists have to make it about politics every single fucking time? I feel horrible for my friends. They just wanted to do something outside of their usual and have a stupid, nerdy time. Now all they're taking away from this is how 7 of 9 hates them with a fucking passion. And, I hate to break it to you guys, but in the 1960s, having an interracial kiss on screen was not appealing to conservatives. Okay, Star Trek, the original series, was a left-leaning show. Did you guys miss the episode where there's like a race of basically identical aliens attempting to exterminate each other? Or rather, one is attempting to exterminate the other on the basis of their slightly different skin color. I'm just thinking here, maybe this might be a case of politics in Star Trek. Though I can't think of what anything in the 1960s would have had to do with people being discriminated against on the basis of their race. I don't know. I can't think of it right now. Something to do with civil rights or something. I don't know. And that's just one of the things. Like the fact that, like, in Star Trek, women can command the ship and, like, give orders and, like, do things. Like, that was considered progressive. The fact that they have black doctors and such in the show is considered progressive. Like, all of that was progressive for the time. Now, are there some regressive themes? Yes, because it's the 1960s. But also, the show, even in the 60s, is fundamentally about, like, living in a society that has, like, figured out these issues. And it gets figured out in a progressive, left-leaning way. And so, of course, Brianna Wu has some thoughts on it. I'm probably going to regret saying this, but while it's true Star Trek has a lot of liberal themes, there are also conservative ones. Liberals don't own Star Trek. Religion is a massive theme for Star Trek. So is military service, duty, and sacrifice. There are so many episodes that are about finding meaning in tradition and cultural heritage. To me, this is what makes Star Trek interesting. How do all of these different ideas and how do all have these different ideas and still work together to achieve great things? The fundamental message of Star Trek is respect. To my liberal friends acting like you own the show, I think you are the ones that miss the core message of Star Trek. And just as a reminder here, the liberals that she's referring to in this are Kate Mulgrew and fucking Jerry Ryan, two of the most prominent actresses in Star Trek. And can we just take a moment? Liberals don't own Star Trek. That's true. There are some conservatives who watch the show and get conservative messaging out of Star Trek. Are they anywhere near the majority? Fuck no, they're not. Are they vocal? Not particularly. Tending towards not at all, because they get you know, pushed out of these convention spaces and nerd spaces because, I don't know, maybe their take on trans issues doesn't go over super well with the crowd that really likes, I don't know, the fact that there's an entire episode of Star Trek The Next Generation about genderless aliens. You know, I have to put that out there. But then even in her own messaging here, liberals don't own Star Trek. You know what else isn't wholly owned by one side of the political aisle? Religion. And you know, I guess I'm not surprised that someone of her mental ability missed that one there. But yeah, it turns out leftists and liberals and progressives can also be religious and have in fact invoked religion numerous times throughout our history in order to, you know, spur social change. You know, again, you know, if someone was familiar with the political themes of Star Trek, one might immediately have their mind go back to that thing that was happening in the 1960s. I think it had something to do with those two aliens with the very similar skin colors. I don't know. I can't remember if something was happening in the 1960s or not with like some kind of religious undertone and invocation by, I don't know, some kind of progressive war on poverty style leader. Just can't think about it. It's slipping my mind right now. Martin Luther King? Why, I hadn't even considered that. Wowee. Crazy stuff. Martin Luther King Jr.? What? How did I forget about that? So is military service duty and sacrifice. Yeah, because there would never be leftists in the military. There would never be progressive-minded people in the military. That would never happen. Only conservatives go into military service. It's not like we coerce entire generations of young people economically into serving in the military, and they wind up with no idea of the class dynamics at play that brought them to that point in the first place. It's, you know, I'm just throwing this out here. And you know who has no concept of duty or sacrifice? Leftists. Leftists have never sacrificed anything. Okay? Don't look into the deadly efforts to unionize businesses and company towns and such. You know, definitely never look up the Battle of Blair Mountain, okay? Never look that up, all right? Pinkertons were good guys. They were just rad dudes who walked around. You know, I played the video game BioShock Infinite. I know that Pinkertons were the good guys. Don't look up the Cold Wars. Don't do it. Pinkertons were the good guys. And can I just say, there are so many episodes that are about finding meaning in tradition and cultural heritage. You know what leftists don't require you to do in order to have leftist ideas? Give up your tradition or cultural heritage. That's not a thing leftists are asking you to do. In fact, now this might seem a little crazy here, guys. This might be a little crazy here. Turns out leftists also have cultural heritage? You know, I hesitate to admit this because you know, I've been so embarrassed. But turns out, though I'm a leftist, I am still very aggressively Swedish and Norwegian. I still will go out and make the food of my people. Hot dish. Okay? And Lakota leftist here raising her hand. Yeah. Homestead strike. Don't look it up. Don't look up that triangle shirtwaist fire, okay? Don't do it. So, like, on literally every single point that she listed, nothing about it was a conservative message. Nothing about that is conservative. What traditions is she talking about? Is she talking about the tradition of playing the trombone in Star Trek? I mean, I guess. But they also play a lot of new instruments, too, in Star Trek. Like, weird little flutes. And it just seems to me that there's... Like, you can only come to the conclusion that she's putting forward here about Star Trek and about these other elements of society if you are genuinely just incapable of self-reflection. Like, to me, this is what makes Star Trek interesting. How do all of these different ideas... How do all have these different ideas and still work together to achieve great things? It's simple. They're progressive, and they worked collectively together towards policies that benefit everyone. And then they also shun and exile people who have far more conservative takes in that universe. We see it happen all the time. Scientists going rogue to do unethical experiments. You know? Unknown alien beings that have set up authoritarian empires, or who want to be little omnipotent dictators. We see the conservative element in these shows constantly, and the show is a constant repudiation of those ideas. There's an episode where they go to a Nazi planet, guys. Though I suspect on some level that Brianna Wu probably saw that episode and and said, finally, an episode of Star Trek that condemns socialism. So, you know, I think that's probably what we're working with here. That might be an unfair conclusion to come to on my part, but you know what? This take just makes me upset from like a media literacy level. Yes, working together in a multicultural alliance of aliens and humans. Truly the conservative future people wanted. Yes, you know, it was a real conservative moment in television when the Deep Space Nine bar unionized. Have we brought up the Federation as a communist society? I am very confused about how money works in Star Trek. I'm not gonna lie. It seems to be very inconsistent. Are they using Latinum, or is that just a Ferengi thing? Are they using credits, or is that just some planets of the Federation that use credits? Are they using gold? Are they, like, yeah, it's kind of all over the place. But the main thing is that in mainstream Star Trek society, you don't need to work in order to live, and the people who do work are choosing to do it. You know, people like Picard's brother, who owns and operates like a vineyard, or people like Cisco's dad, who run a great little restaurant in New Orleans. You know? Yeah, do they use labor vouchers? I don't know. There does seem to be some kind of system that rewards labor in their society, maybe with like more luxuries or something, but it's not a society based on money. They used to use credits in the 22nd and 23rd century Federation. Gold is canonically worthless because it can be replicated. Oh, that's right, Latinum can't be replicated. Gotcha. Money's not required within most of the Federation planets. Hard to ask for payment from a thing making food out of light and by simple request. True. Anyway, that tweet made me mad, and I had to talk about it. I had to explain why it was infuriating to me. I need to go use the bathroom, but when I get back, we'll talk a little bit about the race riots going on in the UK. BRB.
grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack, 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 Riverboat Jack. That's what I'm talking about. First time singing the song, it's from Riverboat Jack. Shout out. I don't know what I'm doing really, but I got passion. That's what it's about. It's all about passion. Where she streams, all that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion, you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack, 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 Riverboat Jack.
Depressing their hearts and time slowly fades in sound and mind. But like the turn signals, they seek their feelings quickly, blinking out of sync. Dancing feet beneath the sand, nightly waves crash on each hand, wishing that the night won't end. He knows he'll have to give it up again. And he plays pretend, it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He freaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. Oh, what a beautiful dream. Oh, what a beautiful dream. He sees a ship sail off to sea, and knowing it was meant to be. If love is real, in the end he knows he'll have to let it go again. Let it go again. And he plays pretend, it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream when they both kiss underneath the sheets. Oh, what a beautiful dream. And he plays pretend, it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. Oh, what a beautiful dream. Oh, and he plays pretend, it's in his head, it's in his head. He wishes he could fix what's in his head, what's in his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. Oh, his head. He breaks his heart in every dream where they both kiss underneath the sheets. But what a beautiful dream.
In the heart of the stream where the currents flow, there's a red-haired captain with a radiant glow. Riverboat Jack with her eyes so bright navigates the waters, chasing dreams in the night. She talks of games and battles won, and fights for rights until they're won. With her partner by her side, they sail the waves they won't abide. Get in the riverboat, hear her laughter sway. With every yarn and booger, it's a playful day. She'll say daddy or oh mommy in her unique way. Riverboat Jack, lead the way. In chat, the waves crash loud. As Jack speaks truth, she stands proud. Politics, socialism, her flag unfurled. In her world, all voices are heard. With arm curls and glasses on, she blows a kiss, her strength is strong. Her favorite tune, she'll sing along. And in her laughter, we all belong. Get in the riverboat, hear her laughter sway. With every yarn and booger, Jack, never to fail. Get in the riverboat, hear her laughter sway. With every yawn and Buddha, it's a playful day. She'll say daddy or mommy in her unique way. Riverboat Jack leading the way. So come aboard, let's sail the stream. With Riverboat Jack, it's a vibrant dream. In the world we're all free to play. Get in the riverboat, let's sail away.
Hello, everybody. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Such a jolly little tune, right? Where's Jack? Fell in the river? I had to poop. That was a lovely musical interlude. Yeah, believe it or not, all music I'm allowed and are condoned to play on my stream. Many thanks to Jazz Dog and Sweet Myths Music, as well as Forlorn79. Dying here, what's the name of that tune that sounds like Midwest emo rock? This one? Or this one?
That's why we work hard and die.
Or a different one? These are by Sweet Myths Music. The name of that track that you're referencing is What a Beautiful Dream by Sweet Myths Music. Or I guess just Sweet Myths. Their username is Sweet Myths Music, so I just say the music part, but Sweet Myths. Yeah, honestly, underrated band. More people need to check them out. They got good stuff. We really should have a... Yes, I agree, Salmon Moose. I believe you can make one. If you can't, then I'll certainly add that. Rise is such a bop. It's about trans rights, folks. Rise is so good. I'm trying to teach myself how to sing it. It's hard. They got range. Yeah, it's an unlisted playlist, but I can link it for you guys for sure. I believe... There you go. Rise is the shit. Yeah, I fucking love Sweet Mitts. You've switched from sugar to honey in your tea? Hope that's fun. Okay, folks, so time to talk about everyone's favorite subject, and of course, by that I mean the race riots in the UK. A classic hit subject for all of you, I'm sure. So basically, there's not like a ton to talk about here as far as like the actual what's going on. There were 3 young girls who were killed in the UK, and the rumor that was spread about the slaying was that it was done by essentially an undocumented immigrant. You know, and so the far right in the UK has been on the literal warpath by instigating racist riots all across the country, and it's been pretty wild how much conservative protesters are allowed to get away with. You know, in the United States, if like progressives turn out to protest anything, the conservatives in the U.S. were like, run them over with your cars, kill them, shoot them dead. But like, apparently, if you're conservative in the UK, you can just like go and like try and torch buildings. Like some hotels, like they've been trying to light fire to hotels that allegedly have immigrants inside. And I mean, some of the images coming out are pretty wild as well. Like, you know, throwing chairs at cops, and like it's being done for racism. Like in the name of, they're fighting cops so that they can be more racist. That's what they're fighting cops for here, in a nutshell. So yeah, that's been going on. As far as like where are these protests, here's a map put together by The Independent. There have been a number of them across the UK. It's not super great, you know. About 14 of these. That's a lot of race riots, guys. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of race riots. And of course, there's just a lot of, I mean, some of the images coming out are just wild. Like this one. You know, white supremacy has gone quite a ways in the UK, I guess. I suppose it's not that surprising, considering the religious movement in the UK over the last, not religious, political movement in the UK over the last several years. Yeah, one of the big sites of rioting has been Rotherham, which is apparently the name of a real place. But rioting took an even more, this is according to Politico, sinister turn on Sunday in Rotherham, a town beset with racial tensions following a child sexual exploitation scandal and cover-up involving a gang of mostly British Pakistani men in the 2000s. Which, like... Jesus. I'm not going to be able to say these names right. I'm sorry. They're too exotic for me to say. Rotherham. A lot of hams. So, also worth noting that the riots included a lot of children. Like, there have been a lot of children participating in the riots. Like, tiny kids running up and, like, trying to assault police officers. It's kind of insane. I guess it's really tapping into the hooligan culture of the UK. Do we have... Yeah.
You will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery.
The worst part about this is that I know that this is somehow going to be used as an excuse by Labour to, like, expand the anti-protest laws that the UK has that are already completely and utterly bullshit, where they can just turn any kind of protest into an illegal gathering on a whim. You know, it's going to be somehow used to, like, further that overstepping of government.
And it has no place on our streets or online. Right now, there are attacks happening on a hotel in...
Oh, God. Labour wants to bring in facial recognition over this. The upshot of that is that then maybe protesters will be able to embrace the cyberpunk tradition of anti-facial recognition makeup. That'd be cool, I guess. There'd be one good thing to come out of that.
In Rotherham. Marauding gangs intent on law-breaking.
Well, yeah, the Labour movement has effectively become the new conservative movement in the UK. Like there's not like a farther left alternative at this point, and they're basically reveling in being the only default option to run the country. Y'all over in the UK, you guys need a better progressive movement.
Worse. Windows smashed. Fire set ablaze. Residents and staff in absolute fear. There is no justification, none, for taking this action. And all right-minded people should be condemning this sort of violence. People in this country have a right to be safe. And yet, we've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities...
Yeah, worth noting here that all these race riots are largely targeted towards places that people believe immigrants are being housed, or places of religious worship, like mosques, yeah, it's... They got nothing. All that is left is racism from the right in the UK. Honestly, I think there's part of what you can read about this, read into about this situation rather, is that a lot of these people don't have a way to express themselves in government because Rishi Sunak, like, fucked them, you know? And so they don't have a way to vote their feelings out. So instead they're breaking out the torches and pitchforks. They got a lot of strong feelings out there. And there's a failure of UK democracy happening right now, in that there aren't really a political movement to represent the left. There's not really a political movement to represent the right. There's not like a political means to achieve your goals. And when that happens and you're an angry conservative, you resort to violence. It's the only thing you have, you know? I said it to others on your break. You should highlight that a lot of these cities, the counter-protesters outnumbered the actual protests. They were the minority in a lot of places. True, we were getting that.
Singled out. Nazi salutes in the street. Attacks on the police. Wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is. Far-right thuggery.
Like, to be clear, this is effectively a lynch mob. You guys realize that, right? Like, this is, like, they're breaking into immigrant housing to attack immigrants. Like, that's what they're doing. And I don't think they're breaking in there to try and just, like, rough them up a little bit. Again, meanwhile, the cops just stand there impotently, doing fuck all. Like, they broke into the immigrant housing. They could be, like, going in there to kill people for all these police officers now, and instead of, like, trying to stop them from entering the building, they just stand there, next to the side of the building, I guess. Jesus. It's pretty horrific. Here's some more images from different protests. Here's a random taxi driver being assaulted by a group of protesters. Oh, wouldn't you know it, just a few guys with a lot of tattoos are out today. You know, just a lot of really interesting tattoos. And I do have to say, if you're at a protest movement, you look around and you see a guy with these interesting tattoos on him, you should probably not associate with that protest movement anymore, because you've kind of found out what side you're on. A man was caught on camera with a Nazi tattoo in Sunderland during disturbances on Friday night. Cars being set on fire. What the hell happened? 3 young girls were killed. The perpetrator of the crime was painted by right-wing media as being an immigrant, and basically the entire UK erupted into race riots against immigrants, specifically black and brown immigrants. And he just likes history. That's kind of where we're at. And granted, there are counter-protest movements happening, but the police seem particularly unable to get this under control. Yeah, like, I mean, some of the details out of these stories, Rioters set a library on fire, burned books, and attempted to prevent firefighters from reaching the blaze. Anti-racist groups have also mobilized, organizing counter-demonstrations in several towns. In Liverpool, the police intervened to prevent clashes between far-right protesters and anti-fascists on Saturday. Good on those Antifa, okay? We need more anti-fascists in the UK, it seems. I would have thought the Blitz would have taken care of that, but apparently not. So, Antifa assemble, I suppose. Yeah, and for the initial event, riots have taken place in towns and cities throughout the UK following false information spread online that the suspect in a knife attack on a children's dance class in Southport on Monday, in which 3 girls were killed, was a Muslim migrant. On Tuesday, rioters descended on Southport and attacked a mosque, clashing with and injuring police officers. Authorities have since said that the suspect in the Southport stabbing case, 17-year-old Axel Ruda Cubana, was born in Britain, but rioting and attacks on mosques and other buildings have continued. Because again, it's not explicitly an immigrant thing, it's a race thing. People want to purge racial impurities from the UK. And yeah, it's pretty chilling stuff. The attacker was only 17. Yeah. Apparently, not the only weird thing about this, by the way, but apparently the attacker was also in a Doctor Who, like, charity thing. Yeah, Doctor Who stabbing suspect previously appeared in Doctor Who charity advertisement, now removed by BBC. Yeah. Wild, huh? Yeah, he's being charged with 3 counts of murder and 10 counts of attempted murder after he attacked a dance class. Apparently it was a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. Yeah, it's really, really sad. But as far as, like, why did it happen? We don't know, guys. We don't know why he decided to do that. But it has now sparked numerous race riots across the country, and it's pretty bad, guys. Please be careful if you're in the UK, and if you happen to be Antifa in the UK, be double careful, okay? This sounds terrible. It is terrible. It was a comic relief advert where he dressed as Doctor Who. As far as we can tell, the stabber's just your once-in-a-blue-moon psycho. Yeah. No, we're in the UK. It's fine here, honestly. I'm in one of the places it happened, as are others here. It's not dangerous to go out. I'm not saying it's dangerous to go out, but I'm saying if you're an anti-fascist counter-protester, be double careful when you're directly engaging with people who are breaking into buildings to assault immigrants. Like, I feel like that's not a crazy thing for me to say. Especially when there's been 14 of them across the country. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not crazy for saying that. Like, I don't know. I'd be pretty fucking nervous if in my state there were fucking race riots happening the same weekend. And I feel like it's a bit different than, like, when BLM was protesting and those turned into riots occasionally, because BLM was protesting for civil rights, not to kill people with dark skin, you know? I don't know. I'd be a bit nervous if it was BLM, but we need to kill black people. I guess I don't know. I'd be a bit more worried about the state of the culture of my country, I guess. You guys asked me to cover it! Why are you complaining about me covering it? For fuck's sake! You guys asked me for my takes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm treating race riots like they're a big deal. Jesus. Like, I live in Minneapolis, okay? The city where George Floyd was killed. I'm relatively close to the place where he was killed. I understand it's not immediately dangerous where you live. It's not like you're living in fucking Mad Max, okay? Or, sorry, it's the UK, so it's not like you're living in fucking Doomsday, okay? It's not like that. The issue is that there are going to still be areas, and there are still things that are going to happen, and you need to be careful if you are going to directly engage in those things. You know? Like, I don't think that's a crazy thing for me to say. I'm not doing this for content. I'm doing it because people asked me to do it and wanted to know about it. If you want a more nuanced opinion, I suggest you go to a British commentator, I guess. But as far as, like, race riots go, I'm pretty sensitive to that stuff. Allegedly, Nigel Farage, now an MP, spread misinfo about the incident, defended himself by saying there was a lack of information. The attacker was under 18, so that is normal. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like, these far-right influencers and far-right politicians will go out there and they will say anything to save their ass. Who's moaning now? What? Why'd you say that? That's weird. Yeah, so less lib commentator. Go for it. If you don't want to watch my content, I'm not holding a gun to your head. Jesus. I wasn't even gonna stream today, guys. Yeah, I apologize for encouraging our British viewers to be safe. My bad. I won't make that mistake again. Nigel Farage is a fascist? Yes, he is a moronic fascist. Yes, that is why I was talking about Antifa. It's triggering my autism sense of justice. It's frustrating, to say the least. But yeah, honestly, a lot of the stories coming out are bad. They look nasty. Race riots, bad. We don't know enough about the stabbings to really have an idea of what happened in them yet. And frankly, I just think that this is the only thing that's going to come out of this is bad. You know, like there's not going to be a good thing that comes out of these riots. It's going to be used as an excuse by the Labor government to crack down on all protesters, both left and right. And I think generally it's going to result in extremely bad things. No, I don't feel wronged, Zero. I just... Often what happens is I feel like I'm not articulating my point clearly, and I'm being misunderstood, which is really, really difficult for me. Yeah. Again, you guys didn't do anything wrong. I'm just Nero spicy, okay? It happens. Yeah, honestly, it's great that the UK doesn't have guns. Gives you a bit more freedom as, you know, Antifa super soldiers. Threads is an incredibly realistic depiction of what it would be like if the worst. Oh yeah, I've heard of Threads. I've never sat down and watched it. Oh, they have guns? Not like they have guns in the US. Tell you that fucking much. Let's see. You get it? You do the same thing. It drives me batty. It's like one of... I usually am able to keep a lot of my autistic triggers under check. But like being understood is like one of the big ones. It's really difficult for me. Any segments you missed? Yeah, you missed a segment about UK race riots and a segment about TYT being transphobic. So, you know. Top tier content. Let's see here. Oh, God. All right. Fine, I'll do it. But I won't like it. If you missed my earlier TYT segment, fellow over-explainer IRL, only when I'm feeling like I'm not being understood, then I can go in circles forever. So TYT interviewed Charlie Kirk, and given how they've handled a lot of issues, frankly, I'm just really curious to see what exactly went on there, you know? It's more of a morbid curiosity. I don't really expect there to be substantial like learning from this particular segment, but mostly it's me satisfying my morbid curiosity in front of all of you. Let's find out. Excellent music with which to introduce Charlie Kirk, a leading member of the fascist movement of our time in the US.
All right, back at the Young Turks at the RNC. Cenk, Uygur, it's very nice. As you can tell, Charlie Kirk joins us.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Good to have you here from Talking Points USA. And so
close.
Turning point.
Oh, did I say that? That's hilarious. I meant Turning Point USA.
Close,
that was a Freudian slip. Okay.
Charlie still hasn't figured out how to say Cenk's name.
So, Charlie.
Why give him the time of day on your show, man? Look at his weird gum smile.
You and I now have some strange agreements. Okay, so
the whole world is just it's coming to an end.
Right. So,
man, do you think Charlie's gonna get a hairpiece, or do you think he's just gonna shave it all off? Like, his hairline looks like it's taken a beating from this particular angle.
But believe me, we have plenty of disagreements, so we're going to get to it. So we both think Biden's a bad candidate. We both say that we represent the populist wing of our parties, right? So let me start with a simple question. Do you want Biden to stay the Democratic nominee?
Boy, that's a good question. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think that he's probably the most beatable right now. I would think so. Yeah, especially Democrat corporate oligarch Biden. The more that he's leaned into kind of more of the progressive stuff over the last couple of weeks, I think it makes him harder to beat. But I just don't think he's not all mentally there.
Okay, good one.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the vulnerabilities on the right. You know, one thing that I've noticed, you say other members of conservative media.
Yeah, this is recent. I believe this is on like when they were at the RNC.
Says that, you know, the female vote is a lot more difficult for conservatives, right? Or for the Republican Party. That the unmarried women are more likely to vote for Democrats. That's the problem. We need to get women married and they'll change their political views. But honestly, I wonder if you realize statements like the one you made at a Turning Point USA event. You said something along the lines of, well, women are past their prime once they turn 30, right? Do you ever wonder whether those kinds of messages might actually be, you know, a little offensive to women, and then they might think that represents the entirety of the Republican Party? You know, it's not exactly the most welcoming message for women.
Well, I mean, first, what I said specific, it's close to what I said, but what I said is as women get older, the dating pool shrinks, which is obvious. And I think you would agree with that. So, I mean, unfortunately, that's the biological reality we live in.
I'm over 30. Cards on the table here. I have actively struggled less and less as I've gotten older to get dates. Like, I met my current partner a couple years ago. But like, if I was single right now, it would not be hard for me to get a date. Like the dating pool for me seems like it's gotten only bigger. Only bigger as I've gotten older. Like, I don't know, it gets less weird to date people that are older, you know, and like it just, I feel like it opens up. You have a lot more variety at your fingertips than when you're like 20 and you're only looking at dating like people who are 20 to 25, you know? Sorry.
But yeah, look, I mean, we do a big women's summit. I think that our agenda is very popular for all people, but it's not a new phenomenon that young women lean liberal. But certainly since the reversal of Roe versus Wade and bring it back to the states, Democrats have enjoyed some, I think, short-lived popularity with young female voters for sure.
Yeah. Also, that's actually a really good point, Will Kale. STI stats said that old people are fucking. Yeah, you guys, I think that old people get laid way more than young and middle-aged people. My goodness. Like, you know, they don't got much time left on this earth, okay? They're all living in close proximity to each other. They got nothing else on their timetables. Oh yeah, they're meeting the ladies for bridge. You know, that's what they're doing. Sure, grandma.
Now, right here at the convention, you said that all men should vote for Trump.
Well, I didn't say, well, I do think all men should vote. Yes. I said that you're not a man if you don't vote for Trump.
Yeah, that's even worse, of course.
Yeah.
So look.
I mean, come on, Cenk, look at that. I mean, can your candidate do that?
Yeah. No.
No.
And so, look, I'm honest.
Oh, that's right. This interview happened before Kamala Harris became the nominee. That's why they're spending so much time talking about Biden.
Your preferred candidate.
Oh, I would never.
You think Bernie could do this? If Bernie got shot, would Bernie do this?
Look, I hope nobody ever gets shot.
How about?
This is such a weird argument to make. Yeah, you think if your candidate got shot, they could do this? Well, no, they'd probably be dead because you know it would likely hit them in a more direct fashion.
But
we never find out. We never find out. Hey, Gretchen Whitmer almost got kidnapped by you guys. So, she was pretty courageous on that too. So, okay, anyway.
But do you think Gavin Newsom would do this? He got shot. He would run quick away if Gavin Newsom got shot.
So, but
I'm giving you a hard time.
I know. Charlie, look, I said that.
You know, such a normal response to your presidential candidate of choice being shot. Just, you know, a look of absolute giddy glee.
Trump that day was courageous.
You were legit. That's why I'm here today, is because you were like one of the honest guys on the left that was like, okay, that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, no question. He did a great job. And I love when the crowd chanted USA, USA, because the president had just been saved, right? And so former president, but we still call former presidents President Trump, et cetera. And that was a great moment. He says, fight, fight, fight. They say USA, USA. I love that. That makes me proud of America, okay? Now, having said that, you know that has nothing to do with policy. So if you're a man who cares about fill in the blank, universal health care, paid family leave, higher minimum wage, which leads to higher wages overall.
Wait, thoughts on the creepy factor calculation? Dating someone younger than half your age plus and is creepy? Oh, plus 7 is creepy. I think that is true to an extent, but like functionally, I have no issue with like a 40-year-old dating a 20-year-old or like a 60-year-old dating a 30-year-old. Like, again, it really depends. At a certain point, like, you're an adult, you do you, you know? I think, honestly, the dating factor calculation of, like, low plus 7 or whatever, I think that's useful when you're, like, just starting out dating. Like, I think it's useful if you're in your 20s. But generally, once you hit, like, 30, like, just, you know, whatever. Like, I feel like most people as a 30-year-old, like, you don't have to take half your age plus 7 because you don't want to date a 22-year-old as a 30-year-old anyway. You know, you can hook up with a 20-year-old, I guess, but like, in a relationship, no, absolutely not. A 40-year-old probably shouldn't be dating a 20-year-old. Yeah, I mean, like, we can get into like the questions of like power imbalances between like a 40-year-old and a 20-year-old for sure. But like, do I think it should be illegal for a 40-year-old to date a 20-year-old? No, I don't. At the end of the day, I don't. I think it is mostly an unhealthy and unwise decision, but I think there's a difference there between like that and it should be illegal or like people should give you constant shit over it, you know?
You care about fighting inflation. You care about getting corruption out of politics. Why the hell would Trump doing that affect my vote at all?
That's a super fair question. And what I was basically getting at is that if this doesn't, as a man, earn you some political points of respect, that's what the essence of what I was saying. But of course, that you're electing a president, a set of policies in 4 years, and that's a fair critique.
Okay, so I want to ask you about Ronna McDaniel because you led the charge against her at the
Mitt Romney. I'm kidding.
Okay, you can go whatever you want. Hey, listen, in a sense, I'm leading the charge against Jamie Harrison at the DNC. So
and one of us has been successful.
Exactly, Brutus.
Well, give me time. Give me a minute.
I'm rooting for you, man.
11-year-old me is very sad about how much of a creep Leonardo DiCaprio turned out to be. Yeah. And see, this is the thing. I also think it's totally fine to be like, Leonardo DiCaprio is a fucking creep. I think that's a fine thing. I think we should be able to say that about people who have, you know, weird power dynamics at play in their relationships that are unhealthy, you know?
Okay, so look, now even Jake Tapper today basically called Jamie Harrison a liar at the DNC because he is a liar. He's been lying the whole time, and he's lying about the Ohio issue now.
Thanks for watching. Our audience has
helped
anything.
I first of all ask you about your side. Sure. So what was your guys' beef with Ronna McDaniel?
Well, first of all, the grassroots didn't have a seat at the table, which I think you could sympathize with. The Democrat Party, I don't think, has a voice for the grassroots right now. And in fact,
is he at least better than Neil Gaiman? I don't know anything about Neil Gaiman and his like sex stuff. Is he bad at that? Is he a creep?
Like if I was advising Democrats, it'd be like, your power is in the Bernie Sanders wing of your party. Like, why are you not tapping into that? Not into this like old stodgy neoliberal warmongering, you know, weak Bush Cheney version of the Democrat Party. But anyway, what am I to give advice to
Neil Gaiman has some accusations out. Gross.
Democrats, right? But no, my critique of Ronna McRomney was that, yes, there's a track record of losing. Fine. Okay, I've made mistakes in the past. You know, we're trying to all adjust. More importantly, though, is that conservative grassroots did not have a seat at the table. Is that we have an agenda that we felt was not being represented, not being listened to. And then there were some like very wonky parliamentarian things I think that you would agree with. and you know this, like Robert Rules of Order, like you know how these parties operate, right?
Yeah,
They steamroll the little guy. They steamroll the states that aren't as important to fundraising, and we found that to be objectionable. And so we
again, I don't think that's true, man. Like, the reason they got rid of Rhonda McDaniel was so that they could put in Lara Trump. Like, it's not rocket science. They put in a literal Trump at the head of the RNC in order to have full consolidated control of the entire Republican apparatus. Like, it's not rocket science. It's just essentially consolidating power behind Trump. That's it. Full stop.
Donald Trump made the ultimate decision, but we led a very, very heated campaign against Rana, and ultimately that was successful.
Yeah, Donald Trump made the ultimate decision, but we had some things to say too.
Hold on, one quick follow-up, Anna. Sure. So, Charlie, here's what I don't understand about the Republicans. So on the Democratic side, I think it's fairly clear because the establishment corporate Democrats have all the money. So the Bernie side has grassroots money, grassroots energy, but that's only earned. You have to actually deliver, otherwise the grassroots don't give you the money, right? So that's why the DNC says, well, I can't count on that because I'm corporate, I'm serving these donors, I'll never get the grassroots money, so I'm gonna halfway give up on that, and so I'm gonna be purely corporate, right? So on the Democratic side, it's really stark, right? But on the Republican side, the grassroots also has tons of donor money. So why do they object to the grassroots?
Yes, Charlie has combed his widow's peak forward to make the hair equivalent of Magneto's helmet. He does it so that the progressives can't read his mind.
They have no reason to.
That's an interesting point. It's because of their values. It's because the grassroots represent a value system that the Vichy French Republicans do not believe in, which is that we believe neoliberalism has been a failed experiment in the modern.
That's a really interesting invocation of Vichy France. So what he's trying to say is that there's a certain faction within the Republican Party that aren't real Republicans. You know, he's trying to say the reference he's making is to Vichy France, the puppet government installed by the Nazis during World War II to oversee the affairs in France. And it's just such a weird, he's coming up with a different term for rhinos. Exactly, Gamer G. And but it's a weird one, right? Like, in this analogy, who's Donald Trump? Like, who are the MAGA Republicans in this example? Because would they be the Nazis? Like Nazi Germany? Are you saying that in this analogy, MAGA Republicans would be France? Because I feel like either way, most Republicans would be very upset about this comparison.
Era. I think you actually might agree with part of that, both you guys.
I definitely agree with that.
Definitely.
But you know, this is the thing I don't get, and this is why, for the first time, I find the convention, the Republican convention, so fascinating, because I do see this growing faction of Republican voters who are headed in the direction of economic populism, right?
Do you? You know, this fascist movement is up and coming, and they call themselves Christian nationalists, but, you know, they're using a lot of this economic populism to make their views more palatable, and I find that so fascinating. Yeah. Man, dude. So I'm honestly kind of shocked about that. Like she is gone. She's gone. The gas leak is nearing lethal levels. I don't know, like the soy facing over like, oh man, Republicans want all these great economic reforms. Yeah, for themselves, for people like them, for, you know, straight white cis people. Like that's what they want. But even then you got to be the right kind of cis white straight person, you know what I'm saying? So like, oh, can someone explain Rhino to me? It stands for Republican in name only. So basically, people who call themselves Republicans but aren't actually Republicans. And it's basically shorthand for saying Republicans who don't support Trump enough. It's the insult to say you're not actually aligned with Donald Trump, essentially, within the Republican Party. So, yeah, God.
Right. They like Social Security. They like Medicare. They want better wages for workers. They want protectionism in regard to, you know, trade and tariffs. And I find that also fascinating. But at the same time, you know, you seem to be empathetic to that message and to those desires by some Republican voters.
And again, here's the issue. A lot of Republicans agree that those are all going to be issues, right? Those are all issues. The manner in which they want to fix those issues is not aligned with leftist progressive policies. It's just not. Like the way they want to fix Social Security is by raising the retirement age. You know, like by axing the benefits.
At the same time, like on your show, you had this one segment.
Not a fan of Social Security.
Yeah, like so.
But let me clarify.
Wildly popular, even among Republicans.
I'm just not a fan of things that aren't properly funded or go bankrupt.
So would you be in favor of lifting the cap on Social Security taxes in order to fund Social Security?
Educate me about what that would look like.
So it's around $174,000 if I remember right.
So like rich people shouldn't get Social Security effectively?
No, not at all. They should definitely get it.
Everyone gets it.
Everybody should get it.
Regardless of age?
Charlie, one of the main issues you talk about is Social Security, man. How have you not encountered this idea of removing the cap? Because basically, beyond a certain point of wealth, you just stop being taxed for Social Security, which is kind of insane.
Or no. Everybody in terms of income, right? But because universal programs work better, everybody buys into it. Because if the rich don't get it, they'll kill it. That's usually how it works.
But how is that any different than?
No. Hold on.
Honestly, I feel like Charlie's trying a new tactic, which is called weaponized dumbassery. You know, if he just pretends he doesn't know what they're talking about, they will talk over each other and look very disorganized in the process.
Tax for Social Security past a certain income, and every year it changes. So, for instance, let's say you're making $200,000 a year. After about $174,000,
the FICA tax no longer
they
applies.
stop taxing you on Social Security.
Okay.
So
yeah, and I'd have to think about that. That sounds like probably a good idea.
I do think it's fun that he just acknowledged that they made a good idea. You know, like we could do that and we'd fully fund Social Security, and also we could just tax rich people more.
But I have to look at
like we have a method of, you know, taking money from people who have too much. Or, you know, you might think, oh, well, maybe we should means test Social Security benefits, or instead we just give everyone the Social Security benefits and then just tax rich people more. We could just do that. That'd be a lot easier.
the counter argument. Okay. I mean, but look, as far as what my critique of Social Security is that it is going to go bankrupt soon, and it has been a lot of series of promises funded by debts and deficits. But yes, we have a moral obligation to fulfill the contract that we have with workers that have paid into it for quite some time. And so, but we're fooling ourselves if we act as if this thing's going to be around forever. At the current pace, that's just not correct.
Okay, it definitely can be if all you do is lift a cap.
Okay, I'll take your word at it. I'm not in the weeds of, you know, Social Security policy wonkery.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So let me see if I can find more agreement. Paid family leave.
Like, why are you trying to find more agreement, though? I mean, I guess it's worth having the conversation, but like, again, any point of agreement you have, you're going to differ on the solutions. You know, his solution to Social Security insolvency is to just destroy Social Security.
84% of Americans agree with it. 74% of Republican voters agree with it. 12 weeks off for a mom after.
That's what we do at Turning Point.
Yeah.
We do 3 months family.
That's exactly what we do at TYT.
So we're another point of agreement.
Okay, so, but we can't get corporate Republicans or corporate Democrats to say yes.
Well, I think either Rubio or Romney pushed this. You guys could correct me. Yeah,
Romney
great,
did.
my favorite guy. But I'd have to look at what the European model does. But if we're actually, and there's abuses, of course there are. But yes, I mean, again, I'm not like a huge fan of like more government programs all the time. Just that's my disposition. But how about this? Instead of $200 billion to Ukraine, $200 billion to say that moms can stay with their babies for 12 weeks.
I mean,
we would definitely.
Okay,
yes.
then we have agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, let's just stop funding Ukraine. Let's allow them to be taken over by Russia. Excellent policy. I'm sure we'll all be saved.
Okay, because look, I think Russia did invade Ukraine.
Again, this is an excellent example of like why should we cede the ground to conservatives? You shouldn't. Like every step of the way here, like, nah.
They were provoked.
Now, all right, we can get into that disagreement.
See, I'm more based on war than you are.
No. Look,
see, like to him, it's a game. Like he's grinning and chuckling to himself in the corner because it's a game to him. Like none of this is serious. This is all theater.
Okay, well, let me ask you,
I'm giving you a hard time.
No, let me ask you the same question.
They were provoked, though.
Charlie, let me ask you the same question I asked Giuliani last night. So Trump keeps saying, and you guys all agree, oh my God, if Trump was president, we wouldn't have any of these wars. You say that?
Well, it's not speculative, Cenk. He was president, and we didn't have these wars.
Okay.
So it's not.
He was president, and we didn't have these wars. That is not a logical. That's not a logical connection at all. Yeah, it's almost like time passes and new things happen, as is the case in a linear timeline.
It's not.
But he says, okay, but he says it's because they know that not to mess with me.
The because is a guess. The point is you have to agree for 4 years we didn't have the wars. The because could be because of his stature, it could be because of threats, it could be because of relationships.
We also didn't have these wars under Obama. We didn't have a Ukraine war under Obama. We didn't have a Ukraine war under Abraham Lincoln.
Or friendships, that's all a guess. I don't know and you don't know. We only know what happened.
Yeah, exactly, Luxk? Luxq? It's a game Charlie's already won by being here. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're going to have an I don't mind having an adversarial conversation or even, like, debate, but, like, you got to frame it properly. And, like, this is just not that. This is just normalizing a creepy fascist weirdo.
4 years, which is no new wars, first time in 40 years.
So, but he keeps saying, because they know that I'm tough. Does that mean that if Russia invaded Ukraine on Trump's watch, that Trump would have attacked Russia?
Well, but they didn't. I don't know the answer to that. So he is making an argument that they didn't invade because of our big military peace through strength, and I threatened to bomb the Kremlin. Maybe that's true, or maybe it's that he had the cojones to have a Helsinki summit and was attacked by his own intel agencies. And Donald Trump looked in the camera and they said, well, do you not trust the CIA? He's like, yeah, I don't trust the CIA. Which was totally true, by the way. So I don't know, like we're guessing as to the why, but we do know the what. Here's the what. Under Biden, we do have more war, and war is terrible. Under Trump, we had no war. And so the why, we'll argue forever, Cenk, but you have to at least agree on the reality that there were no new wars under Trump.
Some areas I actually agree. And this is
again, why are you ceding so much ground to him? Like, I don't understand this, man. I mean, I understand it insofar as they're ceding the ground to him because they agree with him on some of these topics.
Just be speculating. You're right. No one knows for sure. But I do think that Trump's stature and also the fact that he's a bit of a wild card and you don't know whether he's going to be a rational actor did dissuade people like Putin from, so I'll give you that.
Thing, right?
No, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do have a very specific question on something Trump did that could have led to a disastrous war. Luckily it didn't. But the Iran nuclear deal, right? The Iran nuclear deal prevented Iran from developing nuclear weapons, and it had a way of ensuring, like, it wasn't just between the United States and Iran. There were other countries in the international community who signed onto that deal, and Iran allowed for members of that community to go in and check to make sure that they were not developing nuclear weapons. Trump took that, ripped it up, and then for a while, Iran still followed through with the deal, even though Trump ripped it up. They didn't need to. And then after a while, they're like, you know what? There's a lot of antagonism toward us. We're going to develop the nuclear weapons. And so they started enriching uranium again. Then you have the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, which, that was aggressive. And that could have led to an even bigger disaster. There's already been some retaliation by Iran toward our troops as a result of that. So can you at least acknowledge that there were at least some areas where Trump was belligerent in regard to international policy?
Yes, and the argument that his camp would make, again, I'm not a spokesperson for Trump, okay? I'm just an admirer, a friend, and an advocate.
I'm not a spokesperson for Trump. I just admire him, and I'm a close personal friend. And, I just think everything he does is basically God's gift to the earth. I'm not his spokesperson, though.
Advocate is that because of the hawkishness in certain elements that it created peace. And it's hard to disagree with that. I'm not a fan of trying to go to war with Iran. I don't think the Iranian regime is moral or good, but I have a consistent mantra that has been developing over the last decade, and I think a lot of Americans are with me. Foreign abstractions mean far less than pressing domestic crises. And so it's just like this.
Then you really didn't like when he assassinated Soleimani, like something that could very easily have tipped off like an entire regional conflict. It's like one of our top generals being assassinated. It's like if you blew up like the room in the Pentagon where all the generals are.
War with Iran is a weird fanatical obsession with some people in my party that are here right now, like Senator Lindsey Graham. And it's insane and it's weird and it's destructive to our own country. And I speak about it both publicly and privately. And you know who also is sympathetic when I'm saying? J.D. Vance. And so that's a fact.
Well, so I want to ask you about that as well. But so you mentioned Ukraine. We've given $300 billion to Israel over all these years. You want to stop giving money to Israel?
No, I don't. I think it's not the same thing. Happy to tell you why. And I've made the argument before. First of all, I will.
Again, he's a Christian nationalist. He literally like holds sermons on his channel with like a partner church. He has like a religious revival movement under his banner. Like Charlie Kirk will do absolutely anything and everything to prop up Israel. Okay, like no matter how fascist it becomes, no matter how awful it is, like he will do everything in his power to prop up Israel because he hates Jewish people. Because like the entire basis of Christian nationalism is, at least in the United States, fulfilling biblical prophecy. That's the entire basis of it. It is to build a movement that supports Israel insofar as it fulfills biblical prophecy and brings about the end times. That is not a joke. That is not an exaggeration. That is the primary motivation for Christian nationalists supporting Israel in the United States. If you haven't encountered this before, Christian nationalists believe that Israel, the ancient kingdom of Israel, must be reestablished during the end times to fulfill the prophecies put forward in Revelations, and by bringing that to pass, they will then trigger the beginning of the end times. Wherein, by the way, Israel is destroyed by God. So they do not have the best interests of Jewish people at heart. Literally, the entire purpose they have in building up Israel as a state is because they believe God will eradicate Jewish people from the earth.
Will agree. It is deserving of explanation why the aid to Israel went from 14 billion to 26 billion.
Is this like a live action role play story? Yeah, but the stakes are way higher.
Magically overnight. That's like, again, I'm like super Israel, like, guys, come on. Like, you just can't just make up numbers and just start. But no, I will say this, as someone who is a believer in a place for American Jewry to have.
Yeah, it's not every church, Simric, but growing up, I definitely read books like The Late Great Planet Earth, books, because I grew up in a very evangelical church family, and by Hal Lindsey, I believe. And it's an entire series of books about how, you know, current events and recent history indicated fulfillment of different biblical prophecies, and that this was a sign that the end times were upon us, and we had a limited amount of time in order to bring about fulfillment of different scripture. It's pretty not cool. It's pretty not great.
Have a country and a
yeah, and of course he's gonna say Jewry. He's an anti-Semite, guys.
State. I do believe that it is worthy of some form of aid. If it's repaid.
Can you run it back? Yes, he did say that.
Is a believer in a place for American Jewry to have a country and a state. I do believe that it is worthy of some form of aid. If it's repaid, if it's in American arms. Again, I'm not a policy wonk, guys, on that stuff. But I do think that protecting a nation of Israel in a time of crisis is not the same as assisting Ukraine.
Let me ask you something.
For the record, I don't know that Jewry has negative connotations. It's usually used in the context of European Jewry. And like that would, like back in the day, again, like in history, you'd have like the Jewish quarter of like a city. And that would also be called like the local Jewry, like that section of the town or city.
Something even more specific in regard to our aid to Israel. You know, the United States has not had a budget surplus since.
Yeah, it's kind of like someone using ye olden times speak. It's not necessarily offensive, just kind of like, why you saying it like that though? Like that's kind of where we're at on that particular word.
2001. That was literally the last time we had a budget surplus. Israel had a budget surplus in 2022. Okay, the pandemic didn't matter. They still
that's a very good argument.
Right. So
I can't disagree.
It does seem like something that would be derogatory. I mean, like there are a lot of words like that though. Like there are a lot of words that seem like they should be offensive, but aren't, you know.
That American taxpayers should fund the bombs that Israel is dropping on Gaza is ridiculous to me. But
so you mentioned JD Vance. You're an advocate for JD Vance. Tell me why you're excited about him.
Oh, my principal in my church private school gave me trauma from talking about the apocalypse rapture stuff, showed creepy movies to the school, said creepy stuff about us being left behind and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's like classic fire and brimstone stuff, except they're trying to say it's going to happen soon.
He's a friend, so I'm super biased, but I mean, he's a younger person.
Man, it's so weird how he's just close personal friends with all of the major Republican politicians.
It's on the ticket. I think you guys can agree if Biden remains, which you don't think you will. And I want to pick your brain on that. Like, actually, I'm super interested. Is that we have 81, 78, 59 is the ages of the three people in contention, and now you have a 39-year-old. So I think it's an interesting new wrinkle.
1 second.
And he also is not a neoliberal, and we.
All right. So guys, I got about 5 minutes left to wrap this up. And we're going to super speed it. If you've been enjoying the stream, please consider hitting the follow button, the subscribe button, the like button, and consider dropping those subs and donos, because that's what keeps the stream chugging along. And here we go. We're going to get through 4 minutes of this.
We very well could have had a neoliberal on the ticket, and he is a legit conservative that understands the America First agenda that you see here on full display. And so I'm hopeful that this new viewpoint is going to be permanent in the Republican Party.
Are you worried that his stance on abortion, which is no exceptions in rape and incest, will be very damaging to the campaign?
No, I don't. I think he said that he agrees with the president sent it back to the states. I think he's been really fair. Now it's a joint ticket, and so he will.
Again, Republicans absolutely do not believe in sending this stuff back to the states.
It's his views with that at the top of the ticket.
Okay, and if you guys are populist, how do you feel about the giant corporate tax cuts that Trump gave the last time around, and then this time around he's saying he's going to do even more corporate tax cuts?
It depends on. So part of it was really good. Part of it was a small business relief and tax cut. Some of it was for families and for workers. I think I could agree of all the legislative priorities that we as conservatives were pushing for. Making sure that Google was going to have a lower effective corporate tax rate was not the best use of our legislative energy. But I do, you know, this, I'm a conservative, so I have a disposition towards more money in private sector pockets is better than public sector pockets. However, this is the evolution of populism: is that we do not like centralized power, and you must be consistent. That centralized power in government.
Thanks for politic. Here's another $10. Hope all is well.
Charlotte Nova, thank you for the $10 dono. All is well. I've just been streaming for like almost 4 hours, and it's time to go get some ice cream before the ice cream shop closes. So,
power in corporations are both bad. And you must be consistent, and especially when you have a small subset of multi-trillion-dollar corporations that are largely unaccountable in the tech space, and you've had your own tech wars, guys, and so have we. And you know, for example, being censored, being banned, and all that. So yeah, like, I mean, cutting the taxes, Goldman Sachs is like, I can't say that I'm like, it's my number one issue to oppose, but how about you guys go deliver actual results for the voters that put you in there in the first place?
Okay, look, if you guys agree with us, I'll take yes for an answer. And
there's more nuance there.
But yeah, I hear you. All right, last one on policy. Money.
Again, he doesn't agree with you, Cenk.
Politics. So for us on the left, that's the number one issue, because that's what leads to all this corruption in the first place. Why do we give money to defense contractors endlessly? Because they give money to the politicians. Why do we give money to the oil companies? You want to drill? No problem. We can have that debate, right? But why are we giving $20 billion extra of taxpayer money to the richest corporations in the world? And it's because they give money to politicians. The money in politics is the original cancer. What do you think?
I don't know if it's the original. I agree with a lot of that, by the way. I would love your guys' thoughts. So you guys, because when I first was at Politicon, this was like a huge issue, Citizens United. That was like 6 or 7 years ago, because that was like my biggest interaction with like really left-wing activists. What do you think of a lot of left-wing forces embracing adult men? Are you guys not fans of that? Like,
no.
Living Hell Jobs, Emerson Collective, Arabella Advisors, Democracy Alliance. No. Okay, cool. So we agree, because I think that's like creepy and weird. I think the fact that the Democrat Party has a much better organized billionaire class of funders than even the Republican Party does at the moment. But what is your question? Do I want campaign finance reform, or
how about we end the private financing of elections? Because if you privately finance elections, they're going to serve private interests.
So this is a tough issue, and let me tell you why. However, you know, presidential elections were that way from Nixon to Obama. That both candidates took public. There's a law actually that as president you get your election publicly financed up to about $700 million. However, you could decide to not take the money, which everyone does, because you can raise more money that way. So let me. And I know Obama is the first one.
He broke the tradition. Yeah, he broke the tradition and took more.
Because it's small dollar, and then it just we haven't done that. Now, theoretically, right now, Donald Trump could say I'm going to take the $700 million, but it's a $3 billion race. You're going to lose. But I'm seriously interested from a policy perspective. What does that look like? That means that the U.S. taxpayer should fund every dog catcher running in every state. Like, no, actually, yeah, I'm not facetious.
No, I totally get it. So what happens is not everybody gets money. You have to prove.
Oh my God, why is so much of this is just Cenk and Anna explaining things to Charlie? Like, how has he not encountered these ideas? Again, my conclusion is that he's being disingenuous and he knows the answers to these things and he's just wasting time.
That there's enough support for you that you should be one of the candidates that does get money. And you do that with grassroots support, signatures, et cetera, et cetera.
Third-party candidates also get?
Yeah, so it depends on how you set it up, but it certainly could be that way. Yes, okay. And I would want it to be that.
So Bobby Kennedy, would you get appropriated based on your polling data?
So there's different ways of doing it, but yes, that could be one metric as to how we do it.
Is there still talk about for small dollar donors to still give money?
Oh, definitely.
So you're not against the mom and the pop and the plumber getting money?
Exactly right. Okay. You know why? Because they're the average American that the politician should be serving anyway. So, but you cap it at like $100 or $200, and then you say, and we're not going to give it to you unless you qualify. And once you qualify, you're going to get the same exact money. Now let's have an intellectual debate. Let's have a real debate of ideas instead of who's got more money. Because you're right. Right now the Democrats have more money, and so the Democrats can just go and buy any seat they want if they have more money than the Republicans, and that's not fair. So it's also not fair when the Republicans have more.
What do you think is the weakness in this policy, if there is?
I don't think there actually is much of a weakness. I'm an expert on this, and only because I've been working with Larry Lessig from Harvard Law for all these years. He's the godfather of the movement to get money out of politics. This has been thought through in every way. The reason it doesn't get done, Charlie, is because all the current politicians, their base of power is the donor money. So they don't want to let it go. That's how they got elected.
So in other countries, so let me take a step back. So if our idea is to become populist, right, and to listen to voters, why is it in other countries that have publicly financed elections in the last couple of years, we've seen them embrace mass migration and funding Ukraine when their voters don't want it?
No, that's an interesting question, because those countries are actually swinging back and forth, and they're constantly choosing the new candidate for change. Because we all live under corporate rule, and all those, whether it's Brazil, France, UK, they're all swinging. They go Brexit, then they go.
This is not a great response, and I'm out of time. Charlie's very clearly playing dumb here in order to try and push his own politics. And I think Cenk is about to launch into a pretty bad foreign policy analysis. So I think Cenk is genuinely smart. I think he's just been paid. I disagree. I disagree. What's your favorite Olympic sport? Curling. It's really fun to watch when you're a silly little Billy. Welcome back, Anthony Schuler. Uncle Tony! Chunkle! Thank you for gifting Cleaver Chef a tier 2 sub. I appreciate the support. And Simric, thank you for the $5 super chat. And I will be back probably later tonight in order to play more Elden Ring and just chat with you guys. Gonna be beating the final boss of Shadow of the Erd Tree. So that is my goal. I intend to accomplish it with the power of ice cream. And with that, I'm going to raid you guys on Twitch over into Dead Domain. Excellent content creator. Revered, gentle them, non-binary, wonderkind. Go over there, give them some love. And I'll be back later, everybody. Bye! And if you're over on YouTube, go over to riverboat.gg if you'd like to be part of the raid. Bye, everybody!
Howdy, what is your favorite Olympic sport?